Hello, Orval Nation. Hello, Ensign Ricky, DJ, Adega, Dave G Sound, Stephen Klein, Bird of Prey, Louise. There's Mr. Lundell. A lot of you here. Thank you for waiting, guys. Carlos, Pflugerville, everybody. Cat King is in the chat and in waiting backstage as well. Joe, hey Joe. So congratulations to everybody for hanging in there with us because we were having some tech problems. It's my fault. and Raquel, we can hear you perfectly now, so your problems have been resolved. How are you, Raquel and Katie?
I'm doing good.
I'm well, thank you.
Great. How you guys are hanging in there with all this going on with the confinement?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm doing a lot of hiking, so it's helping out a lot.
Oh, that's nice. You're outdoors. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. It's nice. There's a lot of parks around.
Oh, wow. Is it still cold in
state parks?
State parks. Oh, okay. Is it still cold in Canada, Raquel?
No, it's glorious and beautiful and warm, and there's no snow left on my lawn. And yeah, it's great. I love the sunshine. I'm living outside and by the bay window.
Wow. Wow.
Hello, chat. Hello, everyone. Saying hello to me. I love you guys. Welcome to the show. So happy you're here. Thank you for being with us. You guys are just awesome.
Okay, and our two co-hosts are always awesome, and we're so grateful to have them here. And I do want to announce that pretty soon we're gonna, I don't know exactly how, but we're gonna be doing stuff with Katie and getting her channel up and blooming and running, and we gotta figure it out. We just gotta figure out the details. All right, Katie?
Sounds good.
Okay. So listen, we have an amazing guest, which is the reason you're all here, and she is. Her name is Cat King. Now, she is the executive producer of the Project Abaddon. And not only that, but she is just she is a backstage icon in the industry. And we're going to hear a lot more about her. We're going to hear a lot more about what she does and who she works with. And today's focus is going to be the Abaddon Project Abaddon. I keep saying Abaddon Project. I'm sorry, Kat. Today's focus is going to be Project Abaddon. And at these, I think you're gonna. Listen, we had a great interview last night. Today's different. I think you guys are going to have. I think you guys are noticing that I'm totally tongue-tied today. Okay, so I think that you guys are going to think that this is a very special treat that we have tonight as well, as we continue our 2K celebration week. And I want to introduce executive producer of Project Abaddon, Cat King. Hi, welcome, Kat.
Welcome.
Hi. How are you going?
The chat is cheering, even though you can't hear it.
So lovely. I'm getting such lovely compliments. Keep going.
Oh,
ladies.
Now, did you want to show something on the phone there, Kat?
Oh, I'm just streaming this live on TikTok. You know.
Oh, hey. Okay. Gotcha.
TikTok, baby. All bad days.
Kat, it's such an honor for you to join us. I think that that Project Abaddon is something that people want to hear more of again. It's something that we heard about, and I think it was on the back burner in our minds, and so it's such a pleasure to have you here to fill us in on all the progress and developments. Where are you hailing from? You don't have to tell us exactly, but
I am hailing in this afternoon from San Bernardino, California.
Nice.
So,
also known as San Bernardino.
Now, before we start getting into details, let's give people an inkling on where that accent, that slight accent, is coming from. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Kat? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your where are you from? How did you get into this industry? Can you just give us a little short background?
Wow, it's such a long story, but yes, okay. So I grew up in a mixed heritage home. So I come from an English background and an American background. My dad's American, my mother's got an English and Russian, Jewish, Ashkenazi background. And I was blessed to be brought up in such a household with very, very different ideas of what normal is. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, so now I grew up back and forth between traveling a lot because we were schooled at home. We were allowed to school at home. If I had stayed in the UK or we'd been in the UK or any of that had worked out for my family, I would have ended up probably just going on to finish school, at home with my family, or they would have put us in what we call council school, which is like public school over there in the UK. And my family was not about it. We were really Christian and brought up to be very sheltered away from society. So when my parents divorced, it shook the earth. And then they were like the domino family. So once they split, all of the rest of the Christian homeschool families fell like dominoes. Everything fell apart. Our whole world and our belief systems and everything were just questioned and challenged, and the hypocrisy of it all just came to bursting forth, and I was just lost in it. And I found Star Trek was my home.
Aww.
Wow. Now, I just want to point out that Kat is also an executive producer on the podcast and the YouTube channel that you guys are all friends with on the Seventh Rule.
Yes.
And how did you get involved with them?
I have been blessed to be attending Star Trek conventions for a very long time. We started our very first convention experience at Glam Slam. I wish we could have a Glam Slam. A Grand Slam Pasadena way back in the day, and was my very first convention I went to in Pasadena. And then they discontinued it, and I started going to the Vegas convention. And that's when I first met I met Manny when I was 12 at the convention that day, but he doesn't remember that. And I was terrified to speak to any of the actors. I thought that you had to pay to even talk to them. So I was, just walk right by and wave and everything. But anyway, so yeah, I ended up coming to the convention. And then as an adult, I kept coming to the convention, and I made lots and lots and lots of friends at this convention because people, and I don't know if you know this, you might have heard, but Star Trek fans tend to be fairly friendly, at least at first blush. And so I made lots of friends, and one of them happened to be Ryan. And I was able to sneak away. I was in the military back in 2009. And wow. I was able to sneak away for a weekend on pass. I was actually stationed in Monterey on the coast, a beautiful Presidio overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And I stole away from there over a weekend. And good question, Jonathan. We're going to get to that. And I stole away, and I took lots of pictures at this convention. And as I go back now, I realize it was Ryan. Ryan is in all these pictures with me. And so we've actually known each other for years and years and years, and didn't even realize that we did know each other.
He is an amazing guy. Well, we had one of the best interviews with Ryan.
Ryan is a gentleman. In my opinion, he's always been an upright, upstanding, someone with integrity, a professional, fun. Don't tell him I said those things. He doesn't like to be seen that way. I was goody two shoes, but he really is. And he's fantastic. So I just have known him. And then I continued on my own journey as an actor and continued to pursue technical theater, stage management, theater management, promoting, and just doing all the directing and the backstage work in theater. And then I got out of the military, and then I went to Australia to keep doing it. Then I came back. And when I came back, I started hanging out with Ryan more and more. And then I was introduced. I didn't realize that Ryan was already a SAG actor by that time, and had been I've been acting, but I wasn't interested in the union because it's expensive. Mm-hmm. It changes your ability. It limited me from actually being able to do a lot of really cool projects that I really wanted to do because they weren't SAG, and I had to be, And
I just want to say, Kat, that Paul Jenkins from Meta Studios. Do you know who Paul Jenkins is?
Mm-hmm.
Paul Jenkins is he was the man behind a lot of the Ninja Turtles movies, and he saved Marvel. One of the writers who saved Marvel Comics from bankruptcy. He's in the chat.
Fantastic! Well, so that is such a treat. Thanks, Paul, for being with us. I'm like everyone else here, love the Marvel universe, like everything to do with just futurism and sci-fi and exploration of what's possible for the human race. So everyone who works there is a hero to me in that industry, wants to dream of what could be. Those people, the dreamers and visionaries, maybe I consider myself one of those people too, but those people like Paul, you guys are not just heroes of mine. So thanks for being with us.
So Kat, you probably know Eric and the crew we had last night on from the Orville, from the Planetary Step, from the Orville movie.
Yeah.
You know. Okay.
They're fantastic. These guys, you guys are all doing such fun. I'm glad that there's a great podcast for Orville, because I love Orville. Like when they announced it, and then they started saying they're gonna have like Penny Johnson Gerald and people from Star Trek, and I never really took Seth. I wasn't really a Seth MacFarlane fan, to be honest. You know, I wasn't like a diehard, like, you know, Family Guy fan. I like the clips and the bits you get from it, but for me it was like a little overkill often. And I was like, oh, and what is he gonna do? What is he gonna do? And I didn't know that. I really did. I undercut and underrated him, and that was unfair, because Orville has turned out to be such a treat, such a great break away from.
It has, huh?
I think we could all agree. I don't think I'm going to say anything that hasn't already been said, and I know it's divisive because Star Trek fans look at it. There's controversy still, but I think that Orville has been groundbreaking. The episodes that we've seen with Fortis and the gender, I think that's still the episode to me of Orville that stands out as to be the most mind-blowing. And that was the kind of thing that Ira could have and would have done on DS9 had the timing maybe been a little bit different, just because I went to the DS9 documentary with the guys with Eric. Actually, that was the day I actually got into the Seventh Rule as a tech. Trek was I met Aaron and Sirach that day at the Pantasia, or the Chinese theater, and Ryan was there, and we were all just having a great time. And they were looking for someone to just do intern work on the show, just to schedule guests for the STLV series that was coming up at the time. Mm-hmm. And they had wrapped Alpha Quadrant and Garrett, and how all sort of ended very, very abruptly. But then I found that Aaron was going to be doing something. I said, do you guys need any help? And I harassed Ryan. I was like a little bee. I made my beeline right into the group, and I was like, Ryan. And I was like, why isn't he answering me? What did I do? Is it something I said or did, or is it because of who I associate with? And sometimes when there's a fallout, or some things that people don't get along, or the dream that you start off with isn't what it becomes in the end, or as you flesh through things, that's sort of what I think sort of happened. The guys, they got together, Aaron and Garrett, they wanted to do this great rewatch of each other's shows. And so they started off with Alpha Quadrant and Garrett and Aaron and this other gentleman. You may have seen him on Big Brother, Evil D. I call him Evil D because I don't like saying the whole name. But anyway, they all got together and they were doing Alpha Quadrant, and it was fantastic. And then I think there were some creative differences, and they just went separate ways. And then the guys got together, and Garrett and Aaron have known each other for years. They've been friends. So I happen to, and we're going to segue beautifully into this association now, which is these guys right here, Garrett and Anthony. Mm-hmm. Garrett is from Riverside. I lived in Riverside for about 5 or 6 years, and years ago I used to message him on Facebook and let him know, hey, shout out from Riverside, and he actually answered me. And for me, Harry Kim is like one of my absolute favorite characters in Voyager, always has been. And so getting to see him.
Everybody loves Harry Kim, right?
Yeah, Harry. Garrett is fantastic. And he was always so great with the fans. I used to watch him go across the convention floor, just walk right through and surprise people and sneak up on fans and surprise them and just make their day. And Aaron was the same way. And so those two, with that energy, how could you lose? You know, how could you just have a beautiful podcast if you had Aaron and Garrett? And it was great. But you know, and then we lost Aaron. And that was tough. I didn't know Aaron before I started the podcast. You know, I didn't know him like Sirach has known him, and I didn't know him on the level that the other guys and gals knew him. But I got to know him, and I sang at my friend Adrienne Grady's wedding at the convention, and Max showed up. Max Gredenchik, who played Rom, Nog's father on DS9, and Max was at the wedding, and many of the actors show up for Adrienne because Adrienne is extraordinarily talented musician. She does voice work for Star Trek Online, and her husband is on the Cryptic Studios team for Star Trek Online. Jesse Heineck, shout out to Jesse and Adrienne there, because they're just dynamically beautiful people. And so I had they invited us to the wedding, and I had the privilege of singing. And Max was there, and it was just great. It's great to see the Star Trek. Some of the actors really embraced us. And Aaron was always that kind of guy who just, no one was just a fan to him. We were people. When Aaron looked at you, he saw you. You were real to him. You were real, and he would remember you. And not only that, but Aaron stood up for me when I was getting a little bit of heat because I made some comments about deism and the founding of the country and the United States and its roots. And Aaron and I agreed, and I shared some source documents that I know are going to really ripple through controversially for people when they go, talking about religion, the country's foundings and things like that. And Aaron is a deeply convicted individual, and he made sure that conversation was polite, civilized, enlightened, and fair. And he was good to me, and I will never stop thanking him for that. And so the show was a gift to the fans by Aaron and Sirach. They did it for each other. They'd never seen their shows before. They wanted to go back through and see the whole thing. It's incredible as an actor. You get called in, you go in at X time, you shoot your scene, you go home. If you're a regular, you get there even less to see. You get to be a part of it even less. If you're a guest star or recurring, then even less. And if you just get one-off episode, then even less than that. And it's a shame because you miss out on that bonding experience. And we were always afraid that, like, is that the experience that Sirach had and Aaron had as young actors on the set? Did they just kind of treat them like they were just nothing? They're just like talent, but you're not like featured, special, main cast. But they were treated very respectfully and professionally and on the show. And I loved hearing the stories that Garrett and Aaron talk about going over to each other's sets and stealing food from each other from craft services, because they talk a lot about the dynamic, the way that the series were treated, both by fans as each one was announced and came along and unfolded and was added onto the franchise. They were all hated on. Everybody got hate and everybody got slammed and everyone got hate mail. That's the nature of this business, that as soon as you put your face out there, it's terrifying, because what if people don't like what you have to say? What if you say the wrong thing, say something that's misunderstood? And Sirach, I understand why he has been so hesitant to want to put himself out there more. And
he's doing it now, though.
He's doing it. He's on Twitter, guys. He's in gals. He's Twitter. Sirach is on Twitter. Robbie McNeil is on Twitter. That's Tom Paris from
Yes.
Voyager. And so now Garrett and Tom, I think this is a fantastic idea. What a brilliant idea. Because we were like, let's get Garrett to get, Sirach and I have been trying to see if we could get Garrett to come and do Seventh Rule with us, come on.
And let me just say hi to another member of the Star Trek family, Axonar Films. Axonar Comics is here. Hey, Trey. I want to give the mic to Raquel to maybe kick off our questioning of Kat. So Raquel, and before that, I'm just going to bring in Drew 1 second. Drew from Bounding Into Comics and the Sickest of All Nerd Magazine. Hello, Drew Taylor.
Hi,
Drew. How you doing?
Hey, Drew.
Hi.
What's going on?
Oh, you don't even want to know the happy. More than you would think. It's like we're like a glacier situation where it seems very quiet up top, but down below, or maybe like a duck. More like a duck, where things seem very quiet. You feel like paddling like mad below the surface.
Oh, PJ, I like this woman. She's awesome.
I know, isn't she awesome?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pleasure. It's a blessing that she's here. And I'm going to have Raquel start us off on our trajectory. So Raquel from Canada, please go ahead. Professional nerd, Raquel.
Well, I think that there's a certain amount of curiosity within the fandom and also within the chat. And you spoke to it a little bit earlier, but maybe you could explain to everyone the nature of the word Abaddon.
Abaddon.
I think people are very curious about this. We've had some comments that it's very ominous, and indeed, it's very ominous. So if you could explain the origin of Abaddon for everyone, I think that would be a great way to kick off the show.
That is a great question. A fantastic way to start. I agree. Abaddon has an ominous meaning because it originates from the Bible and the Book of Revelations and the end times, and we have to do a little bit of let's do due diligence with respect to religion and the treatment of religion and its everything. It's assets. I'm just going to call them assets. Everything that you could relate to or associate with religious beliefs. And so we were very careful in the treatment of this subject matter, because I came from my father was a minister. I was raised and my father, by the way, my father is deeply into eschatology, which is the study of the book of Revelations, the end times, and all that goes with that, the story of the apocalypse, at the end of the Bible in the book of Revelation. So Abaddon is we call it the Rise of the Destroyer, is the full title, Project Abaddon, Rise of the Destroyer. Abaddon is the name of the ship. So yes, of course, it has this ominous tone, and because why? Abaddon, it represents the beast, right? The beast.
Yeah. Either the chief henchman, either the chief demon of the Satan himself, or Satan, depending upon who you are. Different people have a different belief about it. Yeah.
Right. So you have the Hebrew, it's Abaddon. If it's Greek, it would be Apollyon.
Yeah.
Whichever you call the angel of the abyss or the angel of death.
Yes. Beautifully said. Thank you so much. So does that answer your question, chat?
Yeah, well, that's great that you asked that question to start.
And so,
Go ahead, Kat,
we do have that, and that we do have this foreshadowing just in the name alone, and the word destroyer. And so, what does that mean? Because when you're watching, if you had a chance to, if anyone's had the opportunity to actually view the trailer or the teaser that's out, first let me just go ahead and preface and say that the trailer was shot 4 years ago. The script has undergone about 100 revisions and rewrites. Almost, I want to say rewrite, but not quite rewrite. So many sections of the script have been completely rewritten. And in fact, what you see in the trailer, you see Lawrence Chow playing Ken Chang as the main protagonist, the hero of the story. However, Lawrence Chow is actually now the father, and Garrett has accepted and came on actually about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, signed his letter of commitment to play the main role. So it would be Garrett Wang portraying the hero of the story, Ken Chang, in the titular the hero role. So that'll be fantastic to see him.
Kat, you did not start out in your present role, correct?
No, I did not. Actually, I came on as a consultant, really. Just I met Pete through a group of veterans in media and entertainment. Peter Borgini is the man. His publishing name is Patrick Donovan. But Pete is the guy who created the concept of Abaddon, and he based it around a collection of, it is drawn inspiration from a lot of the Defense Intelligence Agency's declassified UFO files that the Obama administration released. And he tied that in with some people's interpretation of that documentation to be an implication or indicator of apocalypse or impending destruction of mankind, but not through the traditional beast and hellfire, and not in the form of what we would expect. It wouldn't take that form. In fact, the end of the world in this case doesn't really take the form at all, though what we expect it to does not manifest the way that even the trailer seems to imply that it does. There's a fantastic twist in the story, and if I were to share that, obviously it would just spoil the whole thing, but it is fantastic. And there is and Peggy, they're asking some great questions about it, like Horsemen of the Apocalypse. The name itself is an homage to the story in the Bible. And there is not, above and beyond that, we wanted to be very careful about introducing religion, especially right now, in this day and age, in this climate. We do have to be mindful of our content and what we produce. And I don't want to put something out there that's just out there to make money, that we're not here to just make money. We're here to inspire people to create things that matter, and it's a hopeful story. The story is about hope. It is about family, both the family you're born into, the legacy that you're expected to live up to, and the family who chooses you, the family you find along the way. And I think all of us can relate to that. That's universal.
And so I'm hearing, Kat, that even though the story is about disruption, maybe, or that's not the end. That we move on and we get through it, right?
Yeah,
kind of like we're going to get through what we're going through, all this we're going through right now.
Yeah, light at the end of the tunnel, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, but it's just not. It's very much like, if you're going to compare it to anything that you've seen, I've been calling it. It's very similar to Matrix meets Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a very light, and it is a very. There's a great deal amount of humor in it. That the tone of it is very.
I saw that. Yeah.
Very light. There's fantastic humor in the story, and it was written. It was always intended to become a franchise, at least a trilogy. We've already an entire first season of a series that's a origin story series prequel to that would tell the story leading up to where Abaddon begins is already written and ready for filming. We've been at this along. P has been doing this since 1999. He registered the script and started the journey with his friend Gary Hauger, and then from that point on, you know, I just, like I said, I met him through this veterans. I served in the Army. He was in the Navy. He's a 100% disabled Navy vet. He's actually a Navy band guy, played the Navy band. I thought that was fantastic and this guy will talk and just has the energy and is just passionate about this. And you could see that he was not going to ever take no. And I found that it's so inspiring because I've been at this now 15 years. I'm only 30. He's older. And I don't understand why did I let go of everything? Why did I because I knew I wanted to be a teacher and I knew that I wanted to take all that experience, go back to the classroom, inspire kids, motivate kids, bring kids back to work with me. Because I'm a drama teacher. I came from drama, San Fernando. I was teaching 6th and 7th grade drama. And I spent so much time in theater, I got lost in it and it became my world. So film and TV and new media, I was scared of film and TV. And so and then the internet and then podcasting was just starting, and it was like 2007. And there was this place called Trek Space. And then people were starting to do podcasts, internet radio when it was all new. So I started there and then I branched out finally. And now I found that I built such a strong network of people who trusted me, even though I wasn't a union. I was a freelancer and an indie through and through, unknown. That people trusted me, and now I'm on this place in a space where I get to help tell this fantastic story about this young man who is not prepared to accept the reality of the situation, just as lost as everyone else is. And I think we get to watch that journey and figuring out who am I, what happens next, and who are we really as human beings. And the story is it's sort of like the end of the world, but it's sort of about really that new beginning. And Rex, Rex is the best. Just saw Rex Wood. Rex from our 7th Row family, and I just love you. And I wanted to say you guys rock for being here. Thanks for supporting and being on today with us.
Yes, welcome to the 7th Row family.
Kat, you're mentioning that this project is also going to be lighthearted, and for those of us who watched the trailer, we know there's some comedy in there. Yeah. I read that the filmmaker is quite enamored with Indiana Jones. Yeah. So I need to ask you, since we know that we're tempering this sort of Book of Revelation, doom and gloom, this could be the Antichrist, and then the humor and adventure of Indiana Jones, I wanted to ask you, are you a huge fan of Indiana Jones as well?
I am a huge fan of the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland.
Nice.
But I mean, full stop. Love the ride. The movies, I love the movies. I'm not as hardcore as he is. But I do love Indiana Jones. I love the story of adventure, of that. If we allow the fear that we have, just like from the movie, do you guys remember when 2012 came out and all the freakouts happened over the Maya prophecy? I've been watching, if anyone has had a chance to see the Story of God series on Netflix, Morgan Freeman, it's been my quarantine go-to series, binge-worthy, because it's 3 seasons worth, and Morgan Freeman, I mean, it's Morgan Freeman, and he's going all over the world, and he's asking questions, and he's learning about every major religion, but he's also learning about all these other types of offshoots, and strange even to some people thinking, how could you combine Islam and Judaism and Christianity and all into one religion? Well, there is one, and he found it, and it was amazing to watch. So for me, it's just been, I am a philosopher and I'm a theologian, and I actually an ordained minister myself, and I'm able to officiate.
Really?
ball gets back on the road. And so this idea of fear, of the book of Revelation itself, okay, in popular culture has an ominous tone and has always been treated with fear. But there are many people within the world of eschatology, of theology, who view the book of Revelation as a historical record of events that may have happened already. So there are a lot of different interpretations of the Bible, right? And one of the interpretations of the book of Revelations is actually a recording of an ancient battle that was fought between some ancient empire and another ancient empire, and it was recorded in this way. So there's a lot of different theories about it. So what we're here to do is to challenge and to question our known reality and what we've always been raised to believe is normal, acceptable, or even true, really, what is true. And so the point of the story of Abaddon is to show people that the end of the world, that the angel of death, as it were, doesn't actually have to mean physical death. And in fact, and in this case, we're actually challenging our own reality because the story is taking us outside of our known reality. The discussions of the simulacrum, which you don't see anything about in the trailer for Abaddon, is the crux of the story.
Okay.
And that's that Matrix. There's a Matrix vibe because Ken is an AI engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Ken is like the top of his class AI engineer, and this is 300 years in the future. So we're pushing forward into a time and space where we can sort of reinvent the future. We have these Star Trek people attached to the project, so there's that visual effects bump that we get from that brilliant mind, those brilliant creative minds. But what we're trying to do tonally, in the tone of it, is from a DP's perspective or cinematography perspective, to show people that the end is only it's a period, and there's a new sentence to begin. So even with the Maya prophecies go back. We're only just saying that there's these blocks of hundreds of years of time. These quatrains or not quatrains, or I don't remember what they call them. They're cycles or periods of history, and because of the way that their calendar moved. And so this period is ending, and now a new period is beginning. In Abaddon, essentially what you have is the rebooting of our entire existence. And Abaddon is the key to that. And that's scary. It's scary because we're saying essentially that we can Thanos everybody out of existence, or we can cue everybody up out of existence because that's all existence ever was to begin with. So if you've ever seen Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and you remember the famous scene where he's going across the factory, the planet building factory with Bill Nighy, and he's jetting across the whole thing, it's the idea that our planets and our entire universe is a simulacrum. All it is the Matrix, and all we are is energy that continues to be transferred and reshifted and rebuilt and recreated and reformed into other beings.
So you must love Foucault.
Yeah.
Michel Foucault.
Yes.
Lovely. So I love this this whole idea of just coming right out and saying it's a simulacrum. I think that's really, really cool and super, super uber nerdy. Good job, Cat King.
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun.
And Pete's been so great because he's been able to let me get into the script with him and develop this and pick up the pace a little bit, because I like Indiana Jones. I love the pacing of those movies, and I love the pacing of Guardians of the Galaxy. So you're going to get that sort of feel. It's going to feel like Guardians. I think it's going to have that Marvel feel to it. When it's all really said and done, and I think that's very exciting because it's optimistic. It shows that even though there's this challenge, and even though it's scary, they know that this is what they have to do, and everybody comes to an agreement and a consensus in the story. And these are all a bunch of ragtag people who cannot stand each other at the beginning of the story. And just like any other story, that you get all these crazy, weird people who come together who don't think they need each other, then they do, and then when they're all faced with it, they all have to face the same mortality.
Kat, do you want
to face it together?
Do you want to address real quick what would you say to people who think that the Abaddon, the Project Abaddon project has been discarded? Like some people think you guys are like just not there anymore, working on it.
Ooh, conspiracy.
Ooh, they do they? We've been working very quietly in the background. And it's my understanding that and the reason why we're back is because of me, not because of anyone else. And that's just the facts. The people who started the project, many of the individuals who were involved with the project at the outset, in the beginning of it, especially around the time that the trailer was shot, this is before I even came aboard. I was not involved with the trailer whatsoever. or its production or funding or any of that. So I have nothing to do with it. There was a contract between Pete and their companies, and I believe some famous De Laurentiis, someone from the De Laurentiis family was involved with the financing of that. Now there was discord, there were fallouts, there was something happened between those individuals. And so, of course, what happens is when people disagree, they go their separate ways and they vent to all their friends and they tell them what their frustrations were with the situation. And I came into it not knowing anything there had ever been any problem with the people who worked on the trailer. So the crew, some of the people who worked on the trailer were frustrated because they were claiming they didn't get paid. Pete, the creator of this whole thing, right, made sure that those individuals were taken care of, as far as I know. And then he went back and actually had to have it out with the individual who was responsible for all the accounting of that particular production. So in other words,
without getting into, you don't have to get into details about.
No, and that's about the long and short of it. So they wrapped that up. So they everyone was fine. And in fact, everyone's been okay. And we've been working together just behind the scenes to actually secure funding, and then to secure. And people don't realize that it takes years to fund. It really does take years to find the money. Yeah. And we found Garrett, we found Dan, we were attached to these individuals, and they loved the story, the script. They fell in love with it, and they believed in it, and they signed up for it. And that's been the story. So through the frustrations of the difficulties of what should we do with this, or what happens when people, you know what I mean? We had to learn. And the reason I'm sharing the Discord is because people need to understand that is a reality of film and the industry, that people are going to start projects and they may not finish them together, and that's okay. So we've all gone our separate ways, and we're all very amicable. But in terms of the actual project itself, the feature itself, it is on. And I have, most exciting of all is that we've actually been in talks with a major studio, and that's Warner Brothers.
Ooh.
So we have been working on that. That's why it seemed like it was dead. So the reason why it seemed like, oh, it's dead, it's been discarded, isn't that it was actually ever discarded. What happened was we got in touch with someone from Warner Brothers, and they fell in love with the story, and they've been pitching it with Warner Brothers, and then it gained traction. And so now we had to sort of go, are we going to do this indie? Are we going to shoot it indie like Fifth Passenger? Are we going to do it like they did and do it the indie crowdfunding thing, and then just go to the fans and get money from the fans since it's got Star Trek names attached? Do we do it that way and just skip the whole idea of trying to make a big blockbuster franchise? But then the opportunity came to us because of my affiliations with other individuals through Warner Brothers, and Pete was able to get in, make some amazing friendships, and just.
I'd like to address Peggy. Yeah, Peggy says, what's the old saying? Every act of recreation is an act of destruction. Great. So we're talking about the simulacra, or the simulacrum, and Michel Foucault. And Peggy Oakes has raised us a Walter Benjamin. Yes, absolutely. Benjamin has a point as well. So Peggy, I think you're going to find this film very interesting. Yeah. Thank you for your wonderful intellectual comment, Peggy. That is just outstanding, and I know that is a great compliment to Kat.
And let me just add one thing, guys. Don't forget, Peggy and Katie are taking on the whole Doctor Who world on Friday. Just a reminder.
It's as you mentioned that I got another sonic screwdriver in the mail, so I'm full on committed to the Doctor Who fandom. It's going to be really fun.
Good.
It is the longest running science fiction series ever. Proud to say so.
And I just got into it, so I have a lot of work to do.
Lots to catch up on, but you know what? So do I.
Yeah.
I'm like 5. I don't want to admit how many series I'm behind. I'm like Matt Smith. Okay, I'm still Matt Smithing it up here.
I just got through Matt's second season, so you aren't alone.
We're actually around the same. I think we're in the same place about that.
There we go.
Kat, do you want to tell us? Do you just want to tell us about the Orville connection here?
Oh, Gary. So this is Gary. Gary is actually working on Orville now. Still, I believe, He works in the camera department. He's done some DP work on the show. I think it's, I believe at least five episodes that he DP'd, and then he's been a camera operating on the show since it started. So he is connected to me because he's he's working on the project Abaddon with us, and he's doing the camera, a lot of the camera work for us as well.
Nice. Really nice.
He's,
you know, this is
a consultant with us, and now his role has grown.
Nice. This is a show about women, so I need to ask you a question to just sort of address the context of the show. So, what advice would you give to young women just coming into the industry? You talked about being an educator and wanting to educate people and to bring people into the fold and to understand art, to appreciate art, to elevate art. What's your advice to young women? Maybe you could describe to the chat and to the stream what it was like for you when you first started out and what advice you would give.
I would say the first thing to anyone who wakes up in the morning every day and the only thing they can think of is singing or dancing or drawing or all of those things or any of those things, any combination of any art, writing. For me, it was always writing. It began with writing and singing and dancing and show tunes and spinning around the kitchen to Fiddler on the Roof because that's my family story. So I was very connected to that one. Anyone who does that, who has that in them, who just that drive, that little call, you have to do it. And if you are already doing it, you're already that thing. So just like Rilke said in Letters to a Young Poet, if every day you wake up in the morning and all you can think of is writing, then you are a writer.
Yeah. You
don't need anyone else's. I have my struggle, my weakness. Let me learn from my weakness and my failure. This is my failure, that I allowed other people's ignoring me. The fact I didn't know which was worse, to actually get a lot of hate all the time or to be ignored. And I always thought I would hate to be hated. I would hate to be hated. But I actually have come to find that the most destructive thing psychologically for me as an artist is to actually be ignored, to not have any engagement, to not have anyone to remark on your work or to say they either like it or dislike it. I would much rather have a discussion with somebody who says they dislike my work because that is a juicy conversation. Why? What was it? Tell me, what could I do? Or what would be appealing to you? I love people and I love their minds and I love to hear their stories and to understand them. And so for me, that's my passion. So for anyone who's struggling and wants to do it and hasn't done it, just go do it. I was 11 years old when Kate Mulgrew told a little girl at the convention when she said, "I want to be just like you." And Kate turned to this little girl and said, "I don't want you to be just like me. I want you to be yourself."
That's great.
I took Kate's advice that day very seriously. And then 2 years later, I was in my first play. And Dr. Snapgrass in the play called Hospital, and it was a comedy. And I started off as a character actress. I did Annie, I did Adelaide, Guys and Dolls, Chicago. I did all that fun stuff in musical theater, and then that was it. Everyone was like, "Just pack it up and then go do." My drama teacher, bless her, Meredith Stempinski at Centennial High School in Corona, California, deserves all the love and praise in the world because she's the best. She taught me what I needed to know, which is that if you want to make money in the industry starting off, you need to get really good at technical everything. You be the best stage manager. You get good at being a stage manager. You get good at doing costumes. You get good at doing lighting. You get good at doing sound. You will be hot market commodity the rest of your days, all the rest of your days.
So then do you feel that a formal education is part of that? Or do you recommend that that somebody can break in by volunteering? Or what's the best route in your opinion? Is it better to be edified? Is it better to go to school and learn all of these technical terms and how to be on stage? Or is it something that somebody can do if they hit the ground running?
I believe that the best way to learn is by doing and by experiencing it. And in many cases, this depends. The answer is not black and white. There's no black and white answer to anything. What a person needs is deeply personal. What a person needs to feel fulfilled, educated, prepared is different for everyone. But I will tell you this: was homeschooled. I have 2 master's degrees. I'm in $100,000 of debt, and all of the work that I have to show for it came from the situations where I was just with people in a space talking about things that we shared in common, and then found that there were opportunities to actually work with and collaborate with each other. And then we actually went out and did those things. So the most important thing is to connect yourself and to be connected, not just for the sake of becoming somebody and famous. Money is the means to a purpose, not the purpose itself. And the same is true for fame.
Yeah.
I'm in the world to change the world for the better. I am in the world with a purpose. I'm in the world to inspire, to create things that matter, to encourage people to give back and to love and to encourage other people to do the same things. And that is my purpose. And I will do whatever I need to do. Now, I've just finished 50 skills courses on LinkedIn, and I've just completed 2 master's degrees, a bachelor's degree, and I've got umpteen certificates from the state of California saying, good for you, you're a great teacher, you're doing such a wonderful job. But none of those mean nearly as much as when Rex Wood just said to me now that he loves that when I speak it, that I am passionate about what I do. That's what matters.
I think that's great advice to our young women. And I would just like to point out that Peggy Oakes just quoted Elie Wiesel. Yes. Hate is not the opposite of love. Indifference is. Hate implies feeling. Indifference is the lack of feeling. So
I have this tattoo. This is just the last stanza from Pastor Martin Niemöller's poem, or his prose, his poetic prose. Now, if you don't know who he was a Lutheran minister or a Protestant minister in Germany during the Holocaust. And he spoke often following the Holocaust about how guilty we all are for allowing such a horrendous thing to happen and how we owe each other a debt. And I'm gay, but I also have a Jewish ancestry. And for me, I tattooed this because I would never tattoo the numbers. I would never get a concentration camp victim's number tattooed, even if they were a relative of mine, because in the Jewish faith, to tattoo the skin is an abomination. To mar the skin that you were born with and blessed with by God is a sin. And so to mark it, and then to actually go and mark it again, to abominate the skin again with yet another form of abomination is just doubly as sinful, and a mark of the win that you would give Hitler and those who hated, and not just the Jews, but those who are homosexual, gypsies, or people from the Slavic regions. There were millions of people. This was not just about the Jews. It wasn't just about one group of people. So that poem is powerful because he was saying, first they came from the communists, and I was not a communist, so I didn't speak out. Then they came for the socialists, and I was not a socialist, so I didn't speak out. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I was not a trade unionist, so I did not speak out. And then they came for me. Yes. And there was no one left to speak for me. There's no more poignant a piece of literature, I believe, right now than that piece of poetry by Martin Niemöller, because he's right. We owe each other a debt. People think we don't owe each other anything. And anybody who says that is just doesn't understand, is lost. We've lost our future, our any potential for human progress if we've already given up on ourselves by believing that humans are bad and need to be controlled. But if we believe that people are stupid by nature and idiotic and herd mentality, and that means that we're writing off the entire race as incomprehensibly so stupid that we'll never advance beyond where we are now. I don't believe that. I believe what Gene Roddenberry believed in humanity and what we could achieve and what we could do. But sometimes it takes a lot of pain. Yeah, it takes. Gene was also became more pacifist, more and more of a pacifist as he got older, and he was, into a lot of mind-altering substances as well. And he envisioned a lot of things that I don't think are realistic, but maybe perhaps. But I do believe we can get to a place where we live in a utopian society. I just don't think utopia is defined as a perfect conflict-free society. To me, utopia doesn't. In terms of being conflict-free, doesn't exist.
Katie, he definitely went the way of Samuel Taylor Coleridge by doing a whole bunch of illicit drugs to envision this
Quaalude.
Like the Kubla Khan, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Point taken, cat. Point taken.
You know, the imagination of like what could be in terms of like alien worlds. So that's brilliant. You know, you could open your minds up to what you could imagine, a six-headed whatever. That, you know, fantastic. But when we talk about, like, this is what Ira was saying when Ira was on Seventh Rule with us, as the showrunner of DS9. DS9 broke the mold by being becoming the first major serialized, Star Trek series in it. And it disrupted the entire thing. And then they were like, oh, well, since we've already pissed everyone off, might as well just do whatever we want now. And then they did, but they didn't go quite far enough in their own way. And like I said in the documentary, What We Left Behind documentary, they talked about not going far enough in terms of sexual identity or orientation, things like that. And then you got Orval, which, beautiful segue, gets to fill in the water. They're doing this beautiful thing where they get to do some of the things that Star Trek, that Ira wanted to do. They wanted to do some of these things, and they couldn't do them because we still had, to be real, we had homophobes on staff running our series. They didn't think of sexuality and sexual orientation as being, or sexual identity at all, gender expression, LGBTQIA+. They didn't consider any of those things, that they didn't think TV was ready enough for it. I didn't think they trusted Star Trek to be that, like, disruptive, iconic franchise to lead the way, to be like the people to lead this society in a new direction toward this kind of a future. But yeah, that's a whole, we could just go on. I mean, I could wax prophetic and
Katie, did you want to go ask a question?
Well, I do actually, coming off of that, just as being a part of productions and being an actor or an actress and all of this, why do you think sci-fi is the genre to take on these sort of hot topics, if you will, in society? Why not do it in like a country western way, which just makes me cringe just thinking about that, but like, why not do it in like a Victorian way, or try and like mix it into a different style? Why sci-fi in particular, do you think?
Well, maybe the most obvious answer to that is because why not? Because sci-fi allows us to ask why not. Just like George Bernard Shaw says, you know, many people look around and ask why. I look around and ask why not. And that's the answer is because sci-fi allows us the freedom to explore the imagination. And that's good for the human brain. That is so good for us because we're learning. We're learning from our own fantastical world. We're actually, what we found out was that as a society, we built up our entire society like all of this fantasy, and we poured billions of dollars into worlds that we don't even believe could actually ever happen. And I think that is that's what's sad. But the flip side of that is still that the property exists. We're still better off that the property is there, that franchise exists. Because if it hadn't, imagine the millions of people around the world who maybe would have, you know, not made it through to where they are now at all, and maybe have given up and not have even, because look, think about it. Half the world's population believes in God, and believe not only that, but at least half the world's population believes in some sort of moral code and in an afterlife, and believes that they must do certain things or be a certain way in order to achieve that reward, that everlasting afterlife reward, right? And to be one with, or even to be one with God, or to achieve that, you know, moksha, or that, you know, ultimate enlightenment. And if that's the case, then how can we write stories that don't address what the core of most of humanity believes in something? And so we're coming out with science fiction, and we're saying that science and religion cannot commingle, that they're different. No, they're inherently always going to be intermixed. There's always going to be this symbiosis, or even or discord between the two, or a combination of both. And they'll always exist. And that's the thing about Gene, was that he thought that we would evolve beyond religion, because he believed, as an atheist, he believed that a belief in a supreme being was an archaic, old, you know, ancient sort of a thing, and it was a sign that we hadn't evolved yet, and that we would evolve beyond that and realize that man could control all of man's destiny if man would just stop being so greedy and selfish all the time and feckless. But we know that it's really impossible to tell 7 billion people on a planet, or even 3 billion people, or even one person, that they're not, that believing in what they believe is stupid, silly, archaic, ancient. by completely insulting an entire group of people, a population of people. That's the majority of the world. You're not going to set yourself up for success. No one's going to listen to what you. It's a non-starter. You're basically just insulting them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not where you achieve mutual understanding, or you're never going to get that progress. But I don't think you need a war. Conversely, I don't think we needed a World War III. I don't think it's necessary to have a World War III or nuclear holocaust to start over again. We're living in an opportunity now, a great reset, as many.
That is a great point, Kat. That is something that we don't need to go through that final phase before getting to where Star Trek is in the Star Trek story.
Well, we didn't even need first contact with aliens, because we have so much of the technology that Star Trek inspired exists. And
we don't need first contact, but we want first contact.
I'm all about, honestly, we've sort of already had. I think we've already had it, and we just don't know, because, like I said, they don't want us to know. It's sort of like those really, really, like a unicorn, or like those really, really elusive creatures out there in nature that you might see once in your lifetime or never. You know what I mean? If you don't see it today, and like the Siberian tigers that the guys on Planet Earth series spent 2 years living out in the wilderness just for in a little box in a little shack, just for a glimpse of a tiger they may never have seen. These guys went out and did it. And people like that, who have faith and believe in what they're doing blindly, you have to have respect for people who have a faith and who have a belief system, and you have to meet them where their values are and discuss them where you share the values, because 90% of the religions in the world share major common themes. Even their revelatory eschatologies, their end world prophecies, or the beliefs that they have, all of the major world religions share them. And there's so much more that we have in common, but we don't study other religions. The United States is very US-centric, American exceptionalism, and which I firmly believe is rooted in manifest destiny, and that is rooted itself in racism and white supremacy, but that's a whole other subject. But ultimately, what we're coming back down to say is infinite diversity and infinite combinations. And that means that everyone in the world has value inherently. If you were born in this world, you were born in the world for a reason. One way or the other, whether you believe in God, you're here, you're here. So you have a choice. You can either do something with the time that you have, and because we have one time machine. We all get one little time machine, and it only unfortunately for us, it only goes forward. And so that's it. We have to keep moving forward. So we have an opportunity now to reset our society. We could reset it in so many drastic, extraordinary, scary ways for a lot of people, but I just believe that humanity can arise above and beyond the crisis that we're in now, even though as unprecedented as it is. We will, and we can find a way through it. But it just reminds us to stop and remember that we're not just us. We're just so insignificant. One little person, I'm me, and there's 6.99 billion other people out there in the world, and we have to figure it out. And I think we can. I know that we can.
Yeah, I think
and let me just say.
Go ahead, PJ.
Go ahead.
You go.
No, you go.
It's your show. Go.
I just wanted to say that I just wanted to add that differences in people's ideas and philosophies don't necessarily. One thing we have to realize is that one person's ideas don't necessarily negate. Even an atheist doesn't negate Christianity or monotheism or whatever. We don't have to negate. Everything's possible to coexist, and that's one thing we have to come to. But go ahead, Katie.
Well, I constantly, honestly, almost on a weekly basis, I look at the people I work with, and because I'm a meteorologist, I work in the news, and I'm just like, what if nerds ran the world? Like, what if you just had the people of a sci-fi convention, you pick them up, you put them in a parliament? Like, how would that change things? And I've actually had some pretty interesting conversations with people, because you meet fans of shows, and you can either have them be very at each other's throats over minute little details, or you can be the kind of fan who's like, you know what, if you like that, good for you. And I think if more people had that mentality outside of television, outside of their favorite shows, and applied that to the world, I think that would be a huge step forward. Like for me, I have the philosophy of, you aren't hurting me, you aren't hurting anyone else. Let me hear what you do. Like, as long as you aren't hurting someone or something, I'll hear you out. And that's all you have to do is just listen.
Point. And I think that the counter argument, I say this, what you said, I say this a lot. I say this often to people, and I write a lot about this. Obviously, I write constantly about this. But really what it comes down to is that what you believe doesn't hurt may not hurt you. But to another person, they may view you as dangerous.
Yeah.
Because you present a disruption to their belief in what is healthy and normal. And if you are guided by your beliefs the way I am, and if you are action oriented, if your belief system calls you to action, okay, then you have an obligation to act and live out what you believe, right? So if I believe inherently that people are bad and that they have to be controlled, then I believe that then we have to decide. Then you have to ask yourself, well, then who gets to control them, right? Then who does it be? Then we have systems of democracy and a democratic republic, which turned out to be like this hybrid version of democracy versus oligarchy, essentially, is what I see. And now we have more of an oligarchic sort of a system, and now we have this pull toward like a theocracy, and we have pulls toward trying to bridge them together and force people to be one or the other, or that you can't coexist. And PJ's right, you can coexist. But there are too many people, unfortunately. The reality is, and I said, okay, let me tell you about Africa. I went to Africa for the army, and I was 19. And in one day, I saw a little boy holding a human head in one hand, and an AK-47 in the other, walking up the road. And then about 5 minutes later, I watched him die. And then after that, I watched an entire village of people who didn't know who he was, didn't know where he came from, don't know why he was even in the space or why he was there, come and take him away and try to take care of him. I watched cruelty and kindness trade places in just such a quick instant. It changed me. There are always going to be people in this world who see the world the way that they see it. And what we've learned is the more you try to convince somebody that their way is misguided, the more they dig in. And that's confirmation bias. That's what we call confirmation bias. When people only surround themselves by people who agree with them, they develop that echo chamber, that confirmation bias develops, and it continues to be.
Yeah, how about surrounding yourself with people who challenge you or who challenge your ideas?
That's why on a team, when you're a leader, as a leader, you have to surround yourself by a lot of different people of different skill sets. Just like in Star Trek does a really good job of showing how that works in a utopia, how that could work in a utopian environment, how that could be utopian and utilitarian and pragmatic. It's in our best self-interest. Now, that's not to the extent that like Divergent and Hunger Games go where like you have people, it's the opposite, where like they had capitalism rampant and then you had the authoritarian societies that developed from that. But so the thing about being a futurist, I'm a futurist. Now, the definition of being a futurist is that you imagine all possible. It's all in every possible future. I envision a currency-free future for society. I think that's the only way to actually break people free from greed is to, because here's the thing, and this is the reason why, and this is very controversial that I say this, and I don't need I agree with the Starfleet thing and the Federation thing, that humans would advance and we don't need money. But people are like, well, we see Star Trek has currency all the time. Yeah, the non-human races have money. Yeah, they do, because they still use it. And so the Federation uses it to barter with them. But within human society on Earth, there's no money because it doesn't need to be, because services and skills are the monetary. It's values-based work. Our currency is based on our shared mutual values. So first we have to get clear on what our values will be. And then when everyone can agree on that basic thing, which we thought we did with our constitution and in creating a democracy and all this, that we were heading toward that, but we're still kind of actually backsliding because our entire society is built upon debt. And the fact that we value objects, shiny objects, we have placed their value above human life. When a shiny little piece of metal that you have to dig for in the ground, or go scratch for in a cave somewhere deep, or go mine for it and risk your life for, has more value than a human life. Don't talk to me about gay people getting married and that's an abomination, and don't talk to me about abortion and how that's wrong because all life is precious. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear solution. Here's the solution. We switch over to cryptocurrency, that's one start, but that's not going to stave off human greed. We need to, greed is where it lies, and a belief in value, that all life is either valuable or it's not. You can't have it both ways. Either all life is inherently valuable and is precious, and we should garner it, which means all people are entitled to a basic shelter, a basic income, or a means of living or providing for themselves and their families, and that is through mutual exchange of services, which is what's happening now. Right now, what's happening is people are exchanging services and they're supporting each other, and all these freelance society, remote work, which many of us have been doing for 20 years now. And so this is nothing new to us. Everyone's just joining the bandwagon. If we lived in a society where we value what the individual's needs, desires, and natural strengths were, and we nurtured that from childhood like they do in preschool, and then suddenly they go to middle school and now they're departmentalized into a classroom, and now there's standards, now everyone's cookie cutter. The truth is there has to be a symbiosis between the individual and society, or there will be conflict, there will be destruction, there will be death and losses of life at the most extreme examples of that. So what we have to do is ask ourselves, do all human beings have inherent value? Whether they're born with disabilities, if you're born blind, if you're born with the inability to walk properly, or whatever it may be, your life still has value. You will not be a drain on society just by existing when you didn't have a choice in the matter in the first place. Your parents conceived you. So what choice did you have in the matter? But here you are. So if you're atheist, you're thinking, I only have to live because this is all I get. So I'm going to live it up. And so you're either following society, or you're like not following society because you think, wow, well, I'm going to die anyway. So I'm either going to follow society's rules or I'm not. And if you are Christian, then you're believing what I do now does actually impact the life that I have after this and into the next one. So I need to mind what I do, and I need to do this. And then how you live your life, and which church you belong to, which denomination, or which value system you ascribe to. But if we can all agree inherently that all people's lives have inherent value, that no one should starve and no one should suffer, no one should be without a home or without medical care that they need. And if we could come to that most basic understanding and consensus in our society, we could really make the Star Trek utopian society more realistic in our lifetime. And we know that millennials are more progressive, and we know that Gen Z are even more progressive, but we also know that Gen Z values authenticity. We know that Gen Z values more than anything authenticity and transparency. And they also value intimate, private, real experiences. They're not all digital. We've seen the backlash from an all digital world is not healthy for us. We need that human interaction, but it's really about a balance between the two and allowing people to pursue. So I'm a play-based educator, and I believe in experiential education, hands-on learning, and kinesthetics, learning by doing. The kids that I teach and train, when I was working in the program before I was laid off, I was in charge of developing the entire high school program. And I developed a program to be hands-on. If you walked in the door and you didn't like math or science, you sure as heck like music, and you sure as heck like bugs, or this or this. So we would start doing things. And our entire program is based around self-directed education, which is not my idea. I didn't coin it. It's been around for a long time. Many secular homeschooling families love self-directed education because it's literally you pursue whatever you love. It's us valuing the natural ability of the human brain to learn, the natural desire of the human brain to learn. The human brain learns from birth, from childhood, from its inception and its conception. The human brain is always learning, and that's a good thing. So why not, empower us through our education systems?
So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I want to, because of your chain of thought, I think it was a good point to ask you this question. How do you feel about some of the dystopian Trek that we have been seeing the last couple of years? Do you not want to comment on that, or?
Oh, sure. I mean, sure, I'll comment. I appreciate every iteration of Star Trek because I see that there are. Anyone who knew Gene Roddenberry personally will tell you that dystopia has no place in Star Trek because Gene said so many times this, and Gene said so many times this. But they always go back to these one or two quotes because that was what made Star Trek so big, and those were the inspiring ones. But Gene also said something that people don't remember, or maybe we just never got to hear him say. But there is a place where Gene said that he knew that later on people would come along, young folks would come all along after him, and make Star Trek. And he hoped they would bring their own ideas, their own visions, their own understandings and insights, and their own schema. And they would endow Star Trek with all of that, and that they would infuse it with fresh life, therefore adding to the his underlying idea of infinite diversity and infinite conversations, infinite interpretations of a future. The reality is, in Ira, we talked to Ira, executive producer on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, about
Ira Stephen Bear. Yeah.
Yep, Ira Stephen Bear. And we spoke with him, and the idea was, it's not realistic to expect that there's no conflict outside. We might, as a human species, we might achieve this, and that's great. But that doesn't mean that the whole rest of the galaxy or the rest of the universe has achieved it. And it's like these concentric circles, these relationships. And I think of these like, Venn diagrams, and how things are all interconnected. There's the individual, there's society, right? And then there's like the planet, and then there's, everything else, the galaxy, the universe, and beyond. And we're in a place where we have to, as futurists, our job is to explore every possible avenue, because we don't know, one of those pathways might inspire something beautiful. And also another dystopian story might is a cautionary. Dystopian fiction is cautionary in nature. It's just there to warn us and be careful. Just like if anyone here has seen Star Trek Picard, the ideas and the themes of Abaddon aren't far off from Picard, but it's still not far off at all from Asimov. Asimov and Foundation, which I think Apple Plus is working on, or they were putting together a Foundation series for Apple, their streaming platform based on Foundation series. I have been working for, actually, guys, I haven't even told anyone. I've been trying to secure the rights for Nightfall, which was Asimov's best piece. I think arguably people are telling me in classic science fiction it's considered one of the best pieces.
That's interesting. Wow.
I'm like, oh, that's one person's opinion. It's my favorite story, and because it's about an alien culture who grows up in a star system with 6 suns, so they never experience night. And the scientist finds out that there's a cyclical catastrophic event. It's cyclical. It's a naturally occurring phenomenon that every 2,000 something years, there's an eclipse, a solar eclipse, and there will be a period of darkness that befalls the planet. And in this particular society, 2,000 years is a long time. No one in the society has experienced it, so they've forgotten about it. Nobody even knew that it exists. So this guy's having to convince people that things going to happen. He's like Chicken Little, running around. The sky is falling, and the religious people are like, "Oh well, I don't know what to tell you. It is what it is. God's, it is what it is." And then it happens. The sun set, and the planet descends into absolute hysteria, and that's the end of the story.
Kat, I want to go back a little bit to the Abaddon project, and maybe I'd like to have you walk us through the team and then the cast, if that's possible. We see you here, Catherine R. King, as the executive producer. Do you want to just tell us really quickly about each and every one of these people, starting with Patrick?
Sweet. Patrick Donovan, I call him Pete because that's his name. Patrick is a fantastic guy. He's full of energy and life. I met him through mutual friends. I think through Star Trek, probably through Star Trek fan group, or and through the veteran stuff. And so yeah, he served in the military as a Navy band out in Guam. And he wrote this and conceived it with Gary, and he's an AI guy. What he does for a living right now, like what he's doing probably today, is working on one of the most state-of-the-art AI systems in the world. I don't even know if people talk about it, but it's pretty cool. And some of the technology and some of the coding and some of that is proprietary that he developed for the technology for special effects for Abaddon. So some of the props and some of the special effects and some of the visual elements of Abaddon will be incorporating some concept technology, which I think is really cool, including the ship itself. Parts of the ship they're supposed to be actually building.
So he is the original creator, correct?
He's the original creator and the original writer and register of the script.
Okay.
Wow.
And what about Dawn Noel?
So
she's
Dawn,
an actress as well, right?
So yes, Dawn is already an award-winning actress, fantastic producer, director, and writer in her own right. As you can see there, she's danced with Madonna, J-Lo, Kelly Rowland from Destiny's Child, And she's been on lots and lots. She's a terrific actress. This is her a breakout opportunity for her to really get a starring role. We are all very proud about of this team. One of our proudest points is that we are very diverse. Our entire cast is diverse from anywhere from where we're from to being LGBTQIA. The story is the main protagonist, the character that Dawn plays, Roz, is gay, or at least queer in the story. I'm not sure whether or not we actually made her bisexual, but she does end up with a woman and is in love with a woman throughout the entire story. And it is a main part of a huge B plot in the story. So her development is crucial to the Abaddon franchise. And I love Dawn. She's just been fantastic. So yeah, but she's also producing with us as well.
Wow. Okay. And what about Thomas Vitale?
Thomas came in before I came along. I haven't had any interaction with him, but he was a crucial part of consulting with Pete on creating the some of the technical. He's working with us on the technical elements of the show for the visual effects. So we're very excited about him. Greg there is these guys are founding partners of Planet X Productions. So these guys are new and they're all about high concept. So having them aboard is amazing. I believe Thomas was the former head of, is it him or is it John? One of these guys is the former head of Sci-Fi Network.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. Wow. Thomas Vitale, you're saying?
I think it's Thomas.
Okay. Wow.
And I apologize, guys. It's been a while since we've spoken with some of these folks because they've been working on other projects while we've been, getting money together. So there's John. So John is executive producer. He produced the Sizzle Reel. So the trailer that you saw, that was all him. So they were great. We were very appreciative. I am appreciative of him.
And Kat, do we have permission to show the trailer later?
Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. We will do that.
Yes. And Mike McKnight. So Mike McKnight, he's not, I don't know if he's listed on here. There's Gary. So Gary Hauger wrote the script with Pete to begin with and also created it with Pete back in the day. He hasn't had any real involvement with it, though, in terms of hands-on involvement with the development. And I have not met him yet, so I'm going to get in touch with him and see what's up.
Sure.
Zoom call with everybody. It's been a while.
And we also hear here that Arnold M. Soloway has passed. He's not with us anymore.
Arnold. Yep. Also another veteran Air Force. And he was an investor on the project. He actually helped produce the trailer, and he passed from lung cancer a few years back. And then we have the 7-time Emmy Award-winning Dan Curry, who invented the Klingon Bat'leth, and many other iconic props of Star Trek.
You hear that,
That's
Bird of
awesome.
Prey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bird of Prey's in
computer
our
like,
chat.
what?
He's
I will tell you that Dan is an amazing storyteller. This is an opportunity. So before we got in this whole opportunity with Warner Brothers popped up and it came into our circle at all, we were like, we've been all in on indie. We were just gonna go do this, right? We have the studio, we have everything we need, everything is in place, and Dan's been sitting there, doing the VFX thing for years, and winning Emmys for all the technical stuff. But he's an extraordinary storyteller in his own right. So we slated him for director. He wanted to direct. He wanted an opportunity to direct something, and we're like, this is it. This is going to be Dan's retirement. His swan song. He's going out with a big bang, and it's going to be Abaddon. And what a bang! So yeah, fantastic. He's doing all the visual effects and directing, and been a fantastic consultant. And actually, he went with Pete to the studio. He was in January. He was the one he actually came in, and we all had dinner and sat and chatted, and handing out his card to everyone, sneaking his card across the table. I love Dan. He's fantastic. And then Mike Demerit and I go back to NYFA. I went to film school at New York Film Academy in Los Angeles, at their Los Angeles campus in Burbank and LA. And it turns out, so Mike's there now. He's actually teaching there now. And he was camera operator, did a lot of technical stuff on Star Trek, Voyager. And then there's Gary. Gary is our consulting DP. He's our consulting cinematographer. He was not in a non-paid status up until, well, hopefully we'll be able to get him on. If we just don't know what's going to happen with Warner Brothers. If they pick us up, things will change. But he's been fantastic. And if you don't know, Gary is connected to Orval through his camera work for Orval, like I mentioned earlier. But yeah, he's doing camera work for us as well.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's a stellar crew you have there.
Yeah.
We've got Star Trek, we've got our Orval people. What more can you want? We've got Garrett Wong in the as our hero Ken Chang, and then his we've got Anthony Montgomery, our buddy from Enterprise and Miles Away. And just a quick shout out to Anthony Montgomery because he's been working really hard on that Miles Away comic, the graphic novel, for years now, and it is coming to fruition. So congratulations to Anthony Montgomery. That is a fantastic. It's going to be great. I can't wait to get my hands on a copy.
Can you elaborate on that, Kat? On this project?
Yeah. Anthony Montgomery, who was on Star Trek Enterprise, has been developing his own graphic novel. Years ago, he wanted to break into animation, create his own animated series, and so he created this animated universe called Miles Away, and it's just terrific. And I won't give any. You just go find it. Go find it. Google Miles Away, Anthony Montgomery, and just have at it. And you'll find out the whole story. It's just terrific. So he's been developing it he was trying to get it as an animated series, but he found it is difficult. Animation, it is really tough to get into it if you don't already know people. And I found that because I know a lot of people who work for Warner Brothers Animation, a lot of the people I've been working with, like I didn't even know that they were Warner Brothers Animation people. They left the studio because they were like, we just can't do what we want to do. So they started their own production companies and went rogue essentially, and a lot of people just did that. So he struggled to get it off the ground, and then as time went on, I guess what he said was that I'm going to do a graphic novel and just stick to that, and not even worry about trying to get an animated series. And if it comes, then it'll come out as an option package deal later on from the graphic novel instead of trying to do it the other way around.
And that ties back to what you had said earlier about if you like something, just do it. Yeah. And if people like it, if they hate it, as long as they engage with it, like just you're doing something. And
the thing I need to say this is that it's not just important to do it, but it is important that when you have friends there's, like I said earlier, there's 6.99 billion people on the planet and you're just one. But you have 250 people on your friends list or 100 people on your friends list. I think the discouraging thing as an artist is to know that the rest of the world doesn't care about you. But when your closest friends and family aren't supporting you or not sharing your content and not lifting that up, and you're the one out there who is my frustration has just been, I know that no matter what, I'll never change. I will always lift my friends and family up. If my friends and family are creating, I will support them. I will share whatever they're doing, and I will watch it and I will tell everyone about it because I believe that that's what you should do as a good friend and as to support artists. So if you're an artist, the most important thing to remember is it's about giving. It's not about taking. And the more you give, the more you will get back. But like I said, it's about what you give. And that's actually a quote from Katharine Hepburn. It's about what you give, not what you get. So remember that you have to support people. And you have to share their work. And you have to lift them up. And you have to keep doing it. And you can't just go pay for followers. You can't go paying to get fake or cheap anything in this world. It has to come organic and natural. That's the way of the future. That's the way of the digital social media world that we live in. You have to be real and you have to talk to each other and have engagement. So it's not just about the numbers and popularity game with the numbers next to your name. It's about the engagement happening. So if you're an artist, you have to engage with other people. You have to go talk to them and comment on their GIFs and their memes and make them feel special and lift them up in order to get anything back. It's a mutual symbiotic relationship. You'll never get away from it. So you might as well just grin and bear it now and just embrace it because it's a beautiful world. You'll gather the right people. The right people will come to you. Your tribe will flock to you.
And I wanted to let Drew ask a question, Kat, but I just want to ask you real quick, what's the best way for us to support you? And what's the best way for the community to support you?
I mean, same as I do for everyone else in the industry is sharing the links that we put out there for our content. I actually have another TikTok. It's actually a TikTok movie. We're marketing it through TikTok. So it's called Zizix. It's an anthology sci-fi horror series, and we've already shot most of it. So now we're just rolling out the nuggets of little, the trailers and it is meant to. You're meant to be like, huh? What's happening? What's that? I'm not quite sure what that is. It's meant to be an intriguing anthology series. So that's called Zizix. It's centered on Zizix, California, which is a famous dry lake bed. It's a desert studies center. It's on the way to Vegas. It's a staple of the road trip when you make your way out there. Most people pass by the Zizix road sign but never stop along the way. And there's an abandoned water park out there too along the way to Vegas. So there's lots of really interesting things out in the desert, in the California desert. And having been a native here now, I consider myself a native of California. To want to investigate it and create a really interesting sort of Twilight Zone-esque, maybe with a little bit more grotesque bend to it. But definitely it'll have very... So go to my TikTok, in other words. Follow my TikTok. Be there. Share my content. Tell everyone about it. Tell everyone about Seventh Rule. Just engage with me, you know?
Yeah.
Talk to me, maybe. It's hard, you know, because I'm typing and I'm putting all my tweets out there and my content goes out into the ether and then
Is Twitter, Kat, is Twitter the best way to know what you're doing in general? Are you putting everything, is that the one place for us to get the best information of what Kat's doing?
Well, PJ, your age is showing. There's no one best place. I'm everywhere. You have to be everywhere. All of the social marketing reports say you have to be on all of the platforms. So I'm on all the platforms. I'm on the Vocal Media is a big one for me. Medium. I'm on Medium. If you want to read my stuff, read my stories, my fiction, my nonfiction stories as a writer. You want to find my writing? It's on Vocal Media. They're actually going to be featuring me, and they're going to be lifting up the Above Normal podcast that we're doing with WNBA legend Cappy Condexter. And we're doing all that. So you can find me on Vocal soon, but I'm already on Medium. I'm already on Vocal. I've got tons of stories about Janeway and how she influenced me. StarTrek.com released an article. I'd already written an article about that same subject. Been pitching them for years. Maybe someday they'll see something that somebody else shares of mine, and they'll invite me to write for them, and then you'll see me on StarTrek.com officially someday. So
nice.
And it's important not to get her mixed up with the other executive producer, Cat King. So just make sure there's actually another Cat King who is also an executive producer who also has done similar projects to our Cat King. So just make sure you get the right Cat King, or follow them both.
Yeah, follow Cat King. Yeah, all Cat Kings that I've met, every Cat King that I've ever met is pretty cool. We're cool cats. Cats are pretty cool people, just generally. But I'm a big fan of Cat King too. So go ahead, go follow her. She doesn't even know me, but I'm not gonna plug her anyway. But I'm just about promoting each other's work and letting each other know what's going on, and then just keep following the feed. Instagram, and it's a really good way to follow my updates. Like I said, I'm really active right now on TikTok, and then Twitter. I've been very active on Twitter now too. I've been trying to stay away from Facebook. I don't know why, but Facebook became very toxic for a while. It seems okay. I'm sort of going back and forth. I am on there, and I'm on YouTube as well, Alexandre.
What are your handles?
Excuse me, Kat. Could I just ask PJ? PJ, the chat is quite anxious to acquire all of her handles. Could we please update the chat sometime during the broadcast with all of her appropriate channels? Chat. We will definitely get to that so it doesn't get mixed up and you don't go searching for the wrong person. We'll get to that right now.
Yeah. I did send ahead of the show. I submitted all of my social media links and fantastic fun things to share, shareable content, basically copy for PJ to distribute as much as you would like to everyone. And if you need more, there's plenty more out there.
And I'm gonna be posting that as we continue talking. It's gonna be posted on the video after we finish as well.
Fantastic. I am on YouTube. I am, and je parle français. So s'il y a quelqu'un qui parle français, please don't leave me because il faut améliorer ma connaissance de la langue française. I need to improve my French. So if there are any French speakers out there, I am a polyglot. I'm looking for language buddies during quarantine to improve my German, my French, my Brazilian Portuguese, Italian, all 7 languages, Russian. So if you like language and you're a language buddy, come find me. So
Garrett is also a polyglot.
Yes, and he and I like to speak in as many different languages at once as talk to each other as possible whenever we see each other. It's great fun.
Cool.
So yeah, definitely come find me. And I do play music, so you can find. I send you the music stuff too. Cat King. I would love to. If Cat King ever sees this, tell her I'd love to get together and play some music with her on Zoom or something, and we'll have like a doppelganger day where like we twin it up and we play songs together. So yeah, it'd be great fun. So I'm all about it. And if you like gaming, if anyone's a gamer out there, we play. My fiance Rachel and I. We're playing the Division 2. We're playing Apex. We're playing Overwatch. We play STO, we Star Trek Online. We're playing. I'm on there, so find me.
It looks like Alexander also has a number of languages. Resident Canadian checking in the French for you.
Yes, le Québécois. Aussi les Québécoises pour les femmes. But yeah, absolutely. So come find me on the Xbox and PlayStation. If I'll send you my gamer tag stuff. You can post it because it's spelled funny. A lot of people confuse. A lot of people have been asking me at the conventions to do a Katie Sackhoff Starbuck cosplay for years and years. And so for years and years, I've been going back and forth with Katie about this on social media. And the one time she actually responds to me is about her workout video. It's not even about my cosplay, but oh well, whatever. Anything from Katie is a gift and a treat to me because
I met her and Trisha Helper. I know, man.
A terrific compliment. I love Starbucks. She was my favorite character on the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, and big fan of Katie. So huge shout out.
Yeah, I am too. Absolutely. 100%. So I know earlier you mentioned the interesting connection that this project has with religion and science fiction. And, I got to give a shout out to Raquel and sometimes PJ, because every Thursday we actually review an episode of BSG. I do a BSG related show called the Pegasus Actual Podcast on my YouTube channel.
Cool.
And right now we're in the middle of watching season 2, actually. But the thing is that I wanted to ask you is, did you kind of take inspiration from that and sort of explore like BSG did so well, like the monotheism versus polytheism aspect and things like that?
In terms of for Abaddon or for some of my own work?
Well, both actually.
Well, in my own work, absolutely. I think I am most greatly influenced by Isaac Asimov and by Philip K. Dick and by who be the Gene in terms of his as a writer, but in terms of like classic sci-fi, Robert Heinlein. Because the reason why is because I believe in a grounded futurism, an idea of a realistic sort of vision of the future where you could actually conceive it, unfolding and relate to it. So for me, that's where. But I think so that's why I love Battlestar Galactica, because it's like, it's like the opposite. It's like my story was like the other way around, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, fantastic. I love Heinlein. Orphans of the Sky is my favorite novella. My favorite piece ever written by Robert Heinlein. But yeah, he's done some of the best. Some of the best stuff.
I gotta say, definitely in Battlestar, like Adama was a big one for me. I was a fan of because I consider myself a patriot as well, and then I was huge into big time into Starbucks. Yeah,
I mean, even the original, I had the absolute pleasure of being able to interview for Trekcast, which was the like I mentioned before, I think way earlier. But I used to work with a couple of guys, a couple named David and Alicia Ivey. They're a Vegas couple, locals. They're huge Star Trek fans, but they're like kind of casually fans. They weren't like. They don't look. They became the most popular Trekcast. It was the #1 rated podcast on iTunes for ages, and they're still going. By the way, Trekcast is still going. David and Alicia aren't doing it anymore. They passed the amazing torch on to fantastic, amazing, wonderful people, and they're doing a great job with the show still. But it was a different time with David and Alicia because they were just so regular kind of people, and they would cast and they would make fun of Star Trek, and it was very irreverent. And I'm an irreverent satirist. I write a lot of satire. I write a lot in the vein of The Onion. And so I connected with them greatly. But during those times, we had an opportunity to do these away missions. And I did these special, for the premium subscriptions, they started this special section for the premium subscribers, and they were called the Lower Decks, which is ironic considering the fact that there's going to be a whole new
there is the Lower Decks now, yeah.
It was called Lower Decks, and it was my friend Alan. And Alan and I met through Trek Space, which was my space for Trekkies back in like 2007. Mm-hmm. And we met up, and we went to LA, and we got to interview Herb Jefferson Jr. and Richard Hatch. And all the original VSP folks who showed up to that amazing event. And Herb was so great. Boomer, like these are like VOGs, and so you just Herb is such a good guy. And Richard was great. Actually, Richard that day offered to like get together with me to like give me some like acting tips and stuff that day. And we did. And he was such a giving, he's a humble, terrific giving actor. And if you're a performer at all, you understand the importance of what giving means or what listening really means to an actor. Being a giving actor is the greatest compliment I think an actor can receive, is to be a true giver. And Herb is just that kind of guy. He was fantastic.
Excuse me, everyone. I just want to interrupt for 1 second. We have some chatter on the chat where Peggy is saying, it would be really nice if the panel could go in and review some of the comments that have been made in chat. So I would just like to address the chat right now and just give you the floor to recap any questions that perhaps we've missed, or if you would like to address Kat directly, please do that now. If you just want to go and grab that comment that you felt that we overlooked that you would like to bring forward, please do that. We're here for you. Kat is reaching out to you and reaching out to her fan base, and that this is your opportunity to connect with her. Our only job as a panel is to put as many questions as we possibly can think of toward Kat and hope that we can get it all. But if we don't, let's do it, guys. We'll give you the floor. Yeah. Please dig out those comments, and we will put them to Kat directly, okay?
And I hate to say it, I got to bounce. It's dinner time here. It was a pleasure meeting you, Kat. And
you too.
Great seeing you, Raquel. It's always great seeing you. Katie, absolutely great seeing you too, my friend. Yeah. And PJ, I will talk to you soon. So.
Okay, Drew. Thanks for joining us.
Love you.
Drew.
If you're ever free on a Thursday, Kat, you're welcome for a guest spot on the Pegasus Actual podcast.
It will all just depend on timing because we do the AMAs live for 7th Rule on Thursdays right now. We're doing them at 2 or 3 p.m. Pacific. And then, Kate Mulgrew is doing her Cocktails with Kate stuff. So a lot of fans are trying to get in to have a chance to meet Kate and do Zoom calls with Kate Mulgrew, Captain Janeway. So there's a lot going on Thursdays. So we might all have to reconsider what day and times we're doing our shows so that we can actually include more of us. I think we're starting to But yes, if I can steal myself away, I will, and I will make it a priority.
Oh, that would be great, because we're a panel of professional writers and editors, and we are trying to get the public involved with rewatching BSG, because we think it is such a fantastic work of science fiction brought to television.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we review it as professional writers and editors, and we also review it as fans. So it's highly interactive, and definitely from the whole panel. I extend a warm welcome to you if you ever have time. But Absolutely. We realize competing interests. But the invitation is definitely there, Kat.
Absolutely, and I, you know what? And we will make it happen. I'm all about it. We'll make the time. We'll just have to make sure we can coordinate our schedules. But I'm sure we'll make it work.
Very, very gracious of you. Thank you so much, Kat.
Kat, can you do me a favor and put your YouTube channel in the private chat so I can share it? Because I didn't have that in the email.
Oh, that's right. That's the one thing I left off. My YouTube channel, just, I don't do any individual podcasting. It's just got some of the work that I've done in the past. You're going to see some stuff that I did in film school on there.
That's great. That's wonderful.
So you're going to see it all. I'm laying it all bare. But yeah, so absolutely. Let me grab that for you.
And meanwhile, I'm going to share. Go ahead, Katie. I'm going to share something.
We had the same thought. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm sharing something. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, we had a couple of questions in the comments section from Peggy. One of them, let's see where to go. There it is. Kat, I don't know how big a fan you are of the Orville, but it said, what type of character on the Orville would you like to play if you could?
Oh, what type of character? Do you mean like what race? Like race? If I was going to pick any of the alien races we've seen, or do you mean just like sort of any of the characters?
Like the race, position on the ship, are you even on the ship? And make up a character for yourself.
I would love to have been the first officer. Like, just the role itself, the dynamic that he gets to play with his ex, and all of that, I think is would have been terrific as an actor. But even like in the world or universe of Orville, if I could be in that world, in that universe, I would love to have a like chief security or tactical position on the ship. Definitely, the soldier and protector in me is always drawn toward that. And even all my fan fiction is all my characters are all like Marine, Starfleet Marines and people who are, who were like paramilitary kind of people. So I connect and relate very closely with that.
Do you want to share, Kat, real quick, what you told us before about your role as a linguist? Do you want to share that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm polyglot, which means I speak several languages. And I grew up speaking and getting to know and just being fascinated by language. And so when I joined the military, I signed my contract when I was 17 for the United States Army. And I had to give up whatever affiliations and associations I had. And since I was under 18, I also had to have both my parents' signatures to sign off that they approved that I was joining the service. And my parents were divorced, so I actually had to get both of them. I couldn't just do one or the other. And my father was there, not as much into it, but he understood why I wanted to do it. And my mother was like, not into it, but I'm not going to stop you either. So they just sort of and hawed and signed off. And I started off as an IT specialist. So signals, all the, just fixing networks and being a general nerd, And, but I couldn't fire a weapon because I wasn't 18 and I hadn't been to basic training yet because I was in the reserve. So I was actually reporting to my unit every month, but I couldn't do anything except PT, which is boring. And I was like, this is boring. And I wasn't getting paid. And I was 17. I was still a teenager. So I was like, I don't get, how am I serving my country? This doesn't make sense. So I went to they have this thing called, in the reserve component of the military, there's this thing called the Retention Nco, or Retention Non-Commissioned Officer. And their sole job is to keep people from trying to get out of the military by convincing them to stay in, offering them some sort of incentive, job, something or other, basically quelling or appeasing that service member until they go away. So what I did was I went to them and I said, I don't know what to do. I'm not making any money. I can't even make enough money to come out to my unit. My unit was 50 miles from my house. So, they were like, well, do you speak any languages? And I said, well, I speak French. I don't think you guys need French, do you? I mean, who needs, the military doesn't need French. Don't you guys need Arabic and stuff? And they were like, well, yeah, of course. But actually, as it happens, we have an entire command in Africa. So do you speak any languages? And I said, yeah, I speak French. And they're like, anything else? I said, no, just French. So that's good enough. And they sent me to the active duty, onto an active duty contract, gave me a new job. And the job was a 35 Papa, which is a cryptologic linguist. And that means that I sat in a room and I listened to foreign conversations in the native language and I interpreted them. And I submitted that reconnaissance or surveillance intelligence onto the tactical units. And then occasionally I was called out to participate in tactical operations, being the only French-speaking female in the entirety of the command.
Wow. That's fascinating.
It was quite an interesting journey, and it changed my life.
And how long again did you do it for?
I was in the military for 3 years.
Yeah.
I separated. I was doing combatives training, what we call modern army combatives, which is a mixture of modern MMA and wrestling and mixtures of different martial arts, but primarily wrestling and judo even. And we were training, and I was sparring with a guy who was 6'3" from Alabama.
Wow.
In the military, when you're training, you spar with everyone because in combat you don't get to choose who you fight. So in training, you have to be prepared for that reality. So they put you against whoever. And this guy knew I was from California and foreign, and sounding and everything, and wanted to prove him, and he'd been razzing me for a long time. So they were like, go, 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 go. You're throwing down with this guy with Bama. And I was like, all right. So I took him down, but in so doing, I literally had to take him down to the ground, and I took the dominant position, as we call it, which is actually on your back, believe it or not. The dominant position is on your back. Say it louder. The dominant position is on your back. So you land on your back, and as I went down, I grabbed him with my legs around his throat, and as I hit the ground, I separated my shoulder. And I refused to submit because I didn't even realize how bad it was. The adrenaline, you know, we're fighting now, man. It's on. Like in my mind, you know, it's like to the death, but not quite that far. You know, tempered, because of course that's your buddy, and you don't want to actually hurt them. But he landed on me. All 200 whatever pounds of him landed on top of my 138 pounds at the time. And I separated my shoulder, and they sent me to get x-rays, and there was like fluid, and it wasn't actually dislocated, but it was separated internally. And so I had to be reset, and then they just let it heal. The military didn't even operate or do any major surgery. They literally said, it'll heal, fine, and sent me back. And then like my best friend had knee problems, and then they put her through major knee surgery. She was on crutches for like 12 weeks. Going up and down 3 flights of stairs in a barracks with crutches, you know. Like, I mean, the army is great. It's just amazing. Like, even my teeth are so messed up. I've got messed up knees. I'm a mess. I'm a wreck, and I just turned 30 and I'm already like falling apart. But worth it, because, like, I'll tell you, it was worth it, man. I won. I beat that guy. I proved I was a very Starbucks thing to do. I admit, it was a very Starbucks thing to do. I should have. They were mad at me. They told me I should have tapped out. He said, you should have submitted. And I said, in combat, you don't get to choose. You don't get to.
There you go.
In basic training, you can pull a stress card. Nowadays, when you go to basic training, you can pull a stress card. And if the drill sergeants are too mean or they yell at you too loud, you can get hoodoo, and they'll stop yelling at you for like 5 minutes. And I didn't have that experience. I never had a stress card. When I was in basic training, they yelled at us and they called us names and every name in the book they could think of. But it was around the time that the military was trying to get away from that kind of an image and trying to smooth it over. So they started introducing these little things into the mix that I did not get that luxury. They treated us like they do in basic training in the movies. And actually laughed quite a bit in boot camp, more than I did. And I got in a lot of trouble for that too. But
I was gonna say, I bet you did.
Yeah. Nothing personal, strictly business. Now push, you know, kind of stuff. It was my experience in the military was so much fun, and then so much crazy nonsense. It was like a time warp.
I don't know if I could ever go into the any armed forces branch, because I would smile too much, I think. Like anyone who's been watching the past few months, like I smile constantly.
Yeah.
And, even if someone's yelling at me, I'll just be like, I might be in danger.
I was that kind of person. It's like I actually was in a situation where like I was stressed. I was actually stressed, but I was still smiling about it. And then I realized I was getting more in trouble for doing that, you know?
Yeah.
But it's so funny. There's no laugh. There's a lot of laughing in boot camp, but there's a lot of push-ups afterward.
See, that's where I would fail.
They say things they know are funny on purpose to try to break us so that we will laugh so that they can smoke us.
Oh, just imagine like younger kids, like 18-year-olds.
Game, you know, it's an acting improv theater game that's about learning how to develop discipline and not breaking character. And it's called Baby You Feel Love Me, Give Me a Smile or something like that. And you stand in a circle and everybody goes up and they each have to try to make the other one laugh. Do whatever you can do to make this person laugh. And the goal is to not laugh. And if you laugh, you lose. So in basic training, it's very much like that. It's very much like that. But it was a very interesting experience. But the big boy army, the regular army, is nothing like basic training. And it was nothing like that. And I remember that I had been raised on Star Trek. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. with Daddy was on UPN with Star Trek Voyager. And then we would skip the Sentinel. We didn't watch the Sentinel. We didn't watch. I didn't watch Enterprise. I boycotted Enterprise. I'm sorry. I didn't want to.
How dare you? No.
I didn't. I wasn't into the prequel thing. I wanted to see a new Now Next, and I didn't get it, so I threw a fit. And I'm part of the problem. I know, but I've learned. I have learned, and I do support Discovery and Picard and all the new stuff too.
There we go.
I'd rather have something than nothing. That's what it came down to.
Exactly.
And it was just like, yes, you know, because then we've got Penny. Penny's on the show, and I love Penny Johnson-Gerald. She's like, I always loved her on DS9. So it was great seeing Star Trek folks actually on the show. So.
Oh yeah.
Kat, I'm gonna play this video. Do you want to from your TikTok? Can you do you want to give us a little description?
Yes.
Of,
sure.
I'm just gonna go ahead and let it play, and you guys can't hear the audio, but. Do you want to tell us what we're looking at?
So what you're watching is a teaser for a new sci-fi horror anthology series that I am developing with my fiance and a group of close, also military veteran friends. On my birthday, it was a group. My film company is Cathexis Films. I've been doing this for a long time since film school, but what we've been developing here is a story about two people who go off to explore all these crazy places around Southern California, and they get more than they bargained for when they arrive. And every time they go back to investigate more, they experience it differently. So it's sort of like being in the Twilight Zone episode, but it is fueled by the place. So it's a very location, place-centric story. It's about the places they go. It's very similar to how, you know, Stephen King has that Castle Rock, and Castle Rock is cursed, and there's all these different stories and books and movies and stuff like that, but they're all loosely interconnected, like the Castle Rock series on Hulu connects all of them in sort of like this multiverse. Mm-hmm. So Zizix is the story, and it's based on the place in California. And actually what you're seeing is footage of some of the other teasers that we cut together.
Cool.
Okay. And the music is very interesting. The music is unsettling, I would say, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Very Twilight Zone.
That's this one. I think we posted 5 different ones. So everyone tells a different sort of, teases a different element of the story. So it's really interesting. But you'll see. And I want to say very little, because the more I say, the more it just gives it away, you know.
Okay.
That is exciting.
I will play one of the other versions as well, so you can
definitely play one of the countdown videos.
Countdowns? Okay.
Either one of those would be great.
Let's just.
This is so good. I love this. This video, or one of the videos that I post on TikTok, like it's got like 900 views overnight, and I was like, oh, wow! Oh, I just joined, so that was pretty encouraged. Beginner's luck.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah. There you go.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very proud. My fiance and I are trying to create together and develop stories together, and she's just as creative. So this has been a quite a treat, being able to work and create things with your best friend. I mean,
that's awesome.
So this is Zizix. You're actually seeing Zizix. There's images, and you see at the end there's an image of what did you think you saw at the end there? You're watching very closely.
So this is also about the same production?
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are teasers all for Zizix. And Zizix is a working title. We don't know if we're going to call it Welcome to Zizix or just Zizix or what. The name itself is pretty unique, so it stands alone. There's a lore. There's a lot of lore about this place, because people are like, well, there's nothing out there. Is there nothing out there? There's something out there. And it's what it is and why it's there are the questions. And the show itself, every time you tune in, will show you a different story. It'll be very much like a Twilight Zone, but it'll be condensed and it'll be micro. It's very, these are very short episodes. So you're seeing the trailers and the teasers are only a few seconds. The episodes themselves won't be more than like maybe 10 or 12 minutes.
And where are you going to put the episodes? Where are they going to be?
We're going to distribute through YouTube initially and monetize YouTube
okay.
that way to distribute initially. And then we're going to shop it to Amazon. And then the next place that I'm going with it would be AMC.
Is your YouTube monetized, Kat?
No, it's not currently monetized. I really haven't been using my YouTube to like promote content at all. So it's just been a dumping ground for my films and my reels and my film work, that I needed a place to store it online in the cloud someplace, not on a hard drive, which I lost, which is why I put it there in the first place. So yeah. No.
Let me just say, because I think Katie has to leave us.
Sadly, yes.
Oh, no.
Bedtime calls. Yeah, if you didn't know, Kat, I'm the morning meteorologist, so I get to work around 2 a.m.
Oh, okay.
So it's my bedtime.
Well, sweet dreams.
Oh, thank you. This has been wonderful.
You likewise. It's so nice to meet you.
Kat, have you seen on Twitter the meteorologist who's doing the weather for Starfleet? That's Katie. Have you seen that tweet?
Yes, and actually, I do have a little something for people. One, I finally figured out what graphics package to use for the Axonar fandom forecast, so that's moving forward. But also, in honor of Good Omens' 30th anniversary after the book was released on May 1st, I will be doing a Good Omens fandom forecast. So you guys have something to look forward to coming up in May. I'm hoping 2 or 3 fandom forecasts if time allows.
Cool. Very cool. Well, congratulations. And
Thank you.
Keep going. I'm with you all the way.
Oh, thank you. And thank you guys. It's always a blast talking with you guys. Love it.
Katie, thank you for joining us. Have a great night. Get some rest.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So listen, I gotta say, Kat, I would like to have you back again to talk about not just Project Abaddon, but to talk about more specifically about like all the new stuff you're working on.
Oh yeah,
and,
about Glass Stars and
just update us like in a short period of time. Maybe you can just update us on everything you're doing and maybe so I was thinking now would be a good time to see the if we can show the Abaddon trailer. You said we can show that from Vimeo.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just set that up. And again, the best way to support Kat and Project Abaddon is to share everything they're doing with social media. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this too. I am going to play not just that, but I'm going to also play Garrett and Anthony's video 1 sec.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to mute you both because I need to do it this way. I can't do it the other way right now.
Oh, good.
So, okay.
Star Trek Voyager. And I'm Anthony I'm Garrett Wang. You may know me as, or most of you should know me, as Ensign Harry Kim on Star Trek Voyager. And I'm Anthony Montgomery. I played Ensign Travis Mayweather on Star Trek Enterprise, as well as you can catch me on General Hospital now as Dr. Andre Maddox. But what we're talking about today is Project Abaddon, a brand new sci-fi adventure that is a feature film. Garrett will be playing your captain. And Anthony will be playing the first officer, who is also an alien. The first time in my 20-year Hollywood career. We're really excited about it, and we want you guys to be excited about it too. Welcome. Thanks.
Okay, so that was great.
That was great.
That they did that video.
I love that comment. Hopefully they're still ensigns. That's great.
And while I put up that trailer, let's see. Just want to get that.
So just a quick word. So Garrett, you don't see Garrett in the trailer because we switched the roles. So Lawrence Chow is playing the role that Garrett's actually going to be playing in the movie, and then Lawrence is playing his father.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah. Let's see. How are you doing with this confinement, Kat? How How's everything going for you personally?
Okay. I felt ill, and then I was scared, obviously. But then the white patches appeared, and the lymph swelled up on me. And I was like, oh, it's strep. Okay, it's strep. I've been battling strep on and off. Like my whole family has had issues with strep, periodically throughout their lives. So for me, strep was a relief. I was like, oh, it's strep. It's not COVID-19. Thank God.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you're okay. And how are you dealing with not doing your regular routine, or is it very different for you, or is it not very different?
I was already because I've been laid off. I was already home when it all started to shut down. So I'm struggling because, like I say, I consider myself to be I'm a Ravenclaw, for the record. So I consider myself to be a little bit of an introvert, or quite an introvert. But now I'm starting to really miss being able to just go even to the mountains. I can't even go. We're not really meant to be leaving or going anywhere, and the place I usually go, I can't access now. So, it is challenging. What I have done is just shifted my focus away from those anxieties or those ruminations about not being able to have those needs met, and just focus and pour out into creating the things that I always said I didn't have time to do before. Just like a lot of people are saying, is I'm creating a lot more written work and a lot of more artistic visual work, and I'm drawing more and singing more. And it's keeping me busy because I'm sitting in a box I'm in a little 500 square foot box all day long, and there's with my cats. And I think my cats are even sick of me now. They don't even they're not even here now. They've abandoned me. But yes, I am focusing on writing heavily. Rachel and I are working on Iraqian's Fates, which is a surreal based. It's based on the Black Knight of Fagalia. Remember the famous Black Knight scene from the Monty Python movie, Monty Python: The Quest for the Holy Grail. Well, we found out about the history of Iraqian, the story, the legend of Iraqian, upon whom the Black Knight is based, and we began to develop it. So what we're actually doing is taking a lot of public domain, a lot of old classic fables and legends. I found some Bavarian folk tales and legends, and we're adapting them into short stories and tales that for Medium, for Medium.com, and for Vocal. So keep an eye out for that, because that'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. I think Rachel's already finished. We're going to release, each story is self-contained. It's a short story, and it'll just be an episodic, Iraqian versus the Wendigo, or Iraqian versus the, obscure, some such, creature from some weird, strange culture no one's ever heard of, or, no one's seen in ages. And so we're pulling from a lot of different sources in order to create something.
And this would be putting it out on where? On YouTube?
Yeah, actually, we're gonna put it out. We're gonna try and animate it and then put that out on YouTube. And if we don't get that far, then the actual short story series will just be on Medium.com or on the Medium app available if you have the Medium app. And if you don't have Medium, you'll still be able to access it for free through Vocal.
Okay, wow. Peggy asks you, what songs are you singing during this time?
If you go to my Instagram, if you're on my social media, you can actually watch me. I do go live and I do play original music, but I've been playing a lot of covers. And my favorite covers right now are Reese Lewis, "Better Than Today." It's a great song. I sang at Adrian's wedding. It's about not wanting to watch the news or whatever, because you're getting by, and you believe that things can get better by actually living a better life and doing things to make life better. So that's a great song. I play a lot of classic rock. I love "Come Sail Away" by the Styx. I've been playing it the last 2 weeks because it's got the word starship in it. And every year at the convention, there's always some karaoke guy who sings "Come Sail Away." And this was my year, so I've been practicing for my rendition of "Come Sail Away." That's true. It's a good point. But yeah, so I'm singing a lot of Bonnie Tyler. It's a Heartache, Pink Floyd, Eagles. I play a lot of Styx. And
wow.
And then original music too.
Raquel, were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm okay.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Peggy was asking about the stories that we're writing.
Yeah,
we're taking turns right now. We're developing the direction, the overarching direction, the creative development of the series. We both are working together to create the world of the characters and the rules of the characters, their world. But in terms of the actual stories, we've mapped it out. So we like you would do on a show, like they did in the documentary for DS9. They broke down season 1. we're breaking down story by story, and then each of us is taking turns actually writing because it's episodic. So each of us gets a turn to write a complete, self-contained, beginning, middle, and end chapter of the overall story narrative. But it's basically a collection of short stories that are all centered around this particular character in his life, and it's rooted in surrealism. So if you like Twin Peaks, if you like David Lynch or anything that David Lynch has ever done, you would enjoy Iraqian's Fate. There's a gender bending twist in it. I love it. There's curses involved, and there's a supernaturalism. Of course, it's a little bit of everything. If you like supernatural, you might really enjoy it. Then, but I've been trying to do a mixture of writing and visual content, so a little bit of balance between the two, and then that's about it.
Well, and you guys can all check that out when she puts it out in the next few weeks. Starts putting some of that content out.
You can see a lot of it's up on Instagram. A lot of it is definitely, I've got lots of stuff on TikTok. Rachel and I are also doing, so our TikTok, we have a niche TikTok channel. It's called Stardate Today. And we've got 20 followers already, which I thought was really cool because we just started doing things.
That's a different TikTok channel?
Yeah, I have two. There's one.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm confusing you because I got so much to share. I have my own.
I see it.
And then Rachel and I do our show together, which it's like parodies of Star Trek. Captain's logs, away missions. We're off getting booze and calling that provisions. Fun, silly things that we make jokes about gaming. We're showcasing our gaming lifestyle. And yes, you're wrong. If you don't know what TikTok is, you're absolutely missing out on a huge opportunity to garner a following. Do you know that there's very few people who are putting out content in relation to people who are consuming content? And the reason why you didn't hear about TikTok is because they're China-based. It's based in China. 60% of its user base is China. And they're the Musical.ly people. They were the ones who started Musical.ly. So I didn't get into Musical.ly, and I didn't get into TikTok because I didn't understand what it was. I didn't get it. But I realized that I should have been in Musical.ly and TikTok before I ever got into any other social media platform, because I loved singing and I loved lip singing and I like singing to other people's songs and dancing to them. And that was what Musical.ly was. Musical.ly was like Vine, but for like people who like to karaoke. And see, in Asia, especially in Korea, karaoke is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. And in Australia, you'll find karaoke bars all the time. It's like part of the culture to go into karaoke, and people get famous from karaoke. So it's part of the culture. It's a route to fame, and people actually go to school to train to become to get famous through karaoke. It's crazy. I learned a lot about it.
Kat, before we go ahead and show the trailer, do you want to just tell us how mapped out is this story for what's coming? Suppose you guys got a deal with Warner Brothers, or suppose you went indie, whatever the decision was, and you started filming again. How far mapped out is the story?
The script is basically locked and ready for production. Okay. We're done.
For the first movie, you're saying?
The first feature, yes. For the full
not for the trilogy that you were talking about.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the strategy that we are going into with Warner Brothers, is to just pitch a standalone feature. The backup strategy with Warner Brothers has been to actually launch it as a series and extend it, and actually chop it up and then go back to the drawing board with the writing.
That sounds very interesting, actually, as a series.
That way, instead of, we want the standalone feature, and then we want to spin off a series on, Warner Brothers is releasing, they're launching their own streaming platform, of course. So if you've been on Amazon Prime lately and you've been looking for movies and not being able to find them, if you notice, they might be Warner Brothers properties, and that's because Warner Brothers is amassing its whole thing and going to launch its own streaming platform. So they were looking at us as potentially being a flagship sci-fi series for the Warner Brothers streaming platform service as a plan B in case a trilogy franchise is just not feasible, or they don't want to go that route, because streaming is, especially with the pandemic, it's like everyone's realizing that the movie industry, it's like going downhill, you know what I mean, for a while. So, but Gen Z, the thing is, they still love getting out and doing things. They love going to the movies and getting out there. So I don't think we're going to lose them. I don't think the movie industry is going anywhere completely, but I do think they're going to have to be a lot more selective about the type of content that they put out. It's going to be big stuff, you know. It's going to have to be really big. They're big, big, big things. And if they see Abaddon as a big, big thing, then cool. Then they'll launch it as a trilogy franchise. But we really were hoping to have a long-term relationship with the studio and forge a whole new franchise with more than one series going at a time, just like Star Trek.
Okay, so let's show this trailer real quick, and I'm just gonna bring. Okay, I'm just gonna bring this on. I'm gonna mute you guys. Okay.
Admiral Carlton Dashira Command Log, reporting BA Abaddon, completely destroyed. List Captain Hirosaki Chang and his entire crew missing, presumed dead. Dashira out.
What happened 50 years ago? What's so vitally important on that ship that it's worth dying for?
There's only one way for us to find out. Come with us.
Who are you?
We're here to save you. Don't go.
What?
Junkawa, a rescue.
I believe what the captain was trying to say.
Isn't that what I just said? Never mind.
You enter the document system. Retrieve the package. Return it here to me.
How big is the package?
It is a starship. Starship Abaddon.
How much longer? We need to jump now.
Jump event appearing, sir.
They are preparing to fire.
Roz?
Shields won't sustain impact.
We need at least 30 more seconds so the computers can calculate the jump.
Okay, I really wish you left me back in that prison.
Amelia, what's the status of our engines?
She's holding it together. Integrity's 80%. If we gotta jump now.
This is gonna be close.
Gotta go.
It's now or never. Guys, jump now. Jump!
Who sent you? And why are you trying to kill the captain?
This is so much bigger than you know. Others are coming. We will not be stopped.
Why are you doing this?
We will have the Abaddon. The choice is simple. Comply or die.
What is it you're really after?
Something you yourself have been seeking for a very long time.
And that is?
Phantom ship. If the Abaddon truly exists, then she holds a secret that could turn the balance of power throughout the entire galaxy.
My father was on that ship.
There's something else you need to know, sir. The Abaddon is alive and was never destroyed.
And now you, Chang, need to disappear. You need to die.
For years, it's been a myth that the starship Abaddon was destroyed. That ends now. What I'm asking is not an order.
It's a suicide mission.
Who's with me?
I stand with you, sir, knowing all the risk and the dangers.
You'll need a top-notch engineer.
And a brilliant linguist. I'm not going anywhere. Sir?
Neither am I. I'm with you. Thank you. Anyone else? Roz, I need you.
I don't believe in your ghost ship, but I believe in you. You're the only family I got. And this ship is my home. Frankly, I'm the best pilot you got.
Sorry.
All those with me say aye. There's no turning back. We must go against everything we believe in and fight for everything we hold true. Beyond duty, beyond courage, lies the truth.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
So Garrett gets to be a captain.
Garrett will be the captain of the ship, leading the whole thing. And Lawrence, who you saw playing Ken Chang, is actually his father, and it's great because there's some beautiful scenes between these two gentlemen, and just going to be great to watch it play on screen. So we're very excited to have them both. They're terrific, Lawrence. They're terrific. I wanted to mention the gentleman who played the guy who said, "Oh, you're going to need a great linguist." That's Phil Young. Phil Young just passed away. We lost him.
Oh.
In August, I want to say just before Aaron, because there was something in the news. We saw the press release. I didn't even know. We saw a press release. He was on his way to accept an award, and I believe he was involved in a car accident, and he didn't make it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh.
So we lost Phil Young. So we're recasting the role. We're actually looking right now. So there are some folks we have in mind. Now, if Warner Brothers comes, there's some important things that we have to understand about like the industry, and we have two major pathways we can take. We can continue to shop this thing to Abaddon, to Warner Brothers, to Sony, to Hulu, Netflix. We can keep shopping and trying to sell it, which is what we were doing, which is why the project seems to have stalled. Is because there were decisions that needed to be made, and Pete doesn't know how to make those decisions. So he really needed somebody who had experience with the industry enough to help him decide what he wanted.
Do you want to take this question, Kat?
Oh, will Garrett be wearing the Air Force uniform? I believe so. I'm not sure about the costuming for the feature, because I don't know who owns or who designed. If the same designers on the trailer are the same people. I wasn't involved with the trailer's production. I came on board after the trailer was already shot and distributed. So I don't have that information. But you know what? What I'm going to do is, if you're going to have me back on again at all, then I'll see. I'll have Pete on. It would have to be on a day. It couldn't be on a weekday.
Well, we could accommodate that, and I'm glad we got this opportunity to get to know you because we didn't know you, and I think you're an amazing person, and we're so glad that you were here. And let me just, Alexander, a fellow YouTuber, has been bothering me to come on, so here he is. He wants to just give his 2 cents on everything. Hi. Hello, Alexander.
Bonjour, ça va bien?
Oh, ça va bien, ça va bien.
Ça va bien.
Et vous?
I just Quoi?
On peut se tutoyer?
Oui, on peut faire ça, mais je parlais à tout le monde en même temps, c'est pour ça.
Ça va.
Vous étiez plusieurs. Ça va bien. Non, je parle russe aussi.
Oh, bien sûr, как дела? Привет.
Хорошо, очень хорошо.
Хорошо.
7 лет я жил в Москве, там я учил русский язык, и я писал о континентальной хоккейной лиге, в СМИ там.
Да. I need my drink.
That's great.
Da.
Yes, we all need a drink when we talk to Alexander.
Yes, it's better like that. I have my hat here because this is better the hat with the screen, because the way I push it on my books and all the stuff. If not, they will have too much place between my head there and all of the stuff. That's the best way. I just saw the trailer and it's great. I like it very much. But I want to say I didn't fully understand. Maybe you answer to that. You speak that you negotiate with Netflix and all that stuff, but I mean, this is only with streaming that you are speaking. I mean, do you have the possibility maybe to speak with foreign distributor or something like that?
We haven't. I have not had any conversations with foreign distributors other than those in China. I would like to be able to open up some of those conversations, but my feeling is, and this has been it's been true for most of my career, that if one individual studio likes your project, and they know that there's attention from other studios, they will push for better deals. So I don't know. So what my feeling is, I predict that if we get this one deal, then we will get more deals down the track. So if we get one foot in the door, then we will be able to unlock a lot of those different markets along the way. Because if we sell to Amazon, they're international, right? So if we sell it to Amazon, or if we sell it to Hulu or any other international streaming platform service, then we'll get, it'll package up perfectly, and then more people will be able to see the series. And definitely Canada. I mean, if Netflix, if you've got Netflix already over there, then we would definitely push to have it in North America, definitely releasing in North America, across North America. I would love to have like an international release, like a global, international release, like they did, for the Corey Feldman when he was just recently tried to have a global live release of his film. That's sort of like what we would like to do if the pandemic is still affecting our economy the way that it is. If we're still shut down and we're not able to get out, then we're going to pull everybody in and try to distribute it just through as many of those streaming services as possible. And since most of those major players have international markets or partnerships already, we know that once we have one, the rest will start to bite.
Okay, please excuse me, chat. Yeah, PJ probably just lost connection. He'll be with us momentarily. Please sit tight. He is not left. Okay.
No, he didn't. He doesn't boycott us. We know that. I mean, it's not like that.
That's right. He wouldn't just leave us.
Yeah. But I think that because in North America we have our own production in our own market here.
Right.
Because of the language. I know that they produce a series. They produce a lot of series here. One of them they produce, by the way, have been bought by the Russians. So I know the Russians are buying a lot of foreign stuff, by the way. Also. Right. That's they are translating it. I even saw the trailer from Epidemia that have been produced here in Russian. It's a big deal. Right. People are really glad about it.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that's a long time coming. Like the market and our relationship with Russia and our media is tenuous. So it's very encouraging to see that door is opening up a little bit for us. I just watched a Russian. It was one of the Russian Academy Award nominees for international film, Best Picture, whatever. It's called Sobibor. Did you ever see it? It came out.
No, I don't. I watch stuff in Russia, but I more watch old stuff, historic stuff, like movie. But I watched some like a very bad movie named Zachitniki, the Defensor. That was a kind of Avengers, but the end is so awful. They are like a man bear with a Gatling gun, and it's really cool for like half of the movie, and after that the 2/3 of the movie is good. After that it's complete shit. Wow. They produced by themselves a good and interesting movie about the life of Valery Alamov, the hockey player.
Yeah.
So they are producing a lot of stuff, and they produced also a series from Netflix, but that they sold to Netflix about Leon Trotsky. So. Okay. So this is on Netflix now with subtitles. So people can watch it.
Yeah, I will look for it. I'm just a student of political science, and being Russian, having a Russian ancestry. That's something that I feel like it's important that you know where you come from, or what the beliefs are. And obviously, I'm greatly inspired by Trotsky and Lenin and Karl Marx, but. In many ways, and for many good reasons and legitimate reasons, I think it's very misunderstood, and I think communism still, to this day, is unfairly stigmatized.
Yes, it's true. I know that. I suffer from that.
I agree. So, Kat, I was just wondering, do you think that Garrett Wang is going to have any retrospective exposition as an ensign? Will we see flashbacks of him being an ensign?
Thing that timeline didn't exist, or didn't happen, so we don't know whether or not he actually did become a captain. But I would love to think that in Picard season 2, we'll see Harry Kim trying to stop them, trying to do what he did to Janeway. I'm going to have to bring you in now, on the USS Rhode Island, and it'll be Captain. No, we don't have to answer the question. I don't have a flashback scene or anything like that.
Oh, what a shame, because every Pinocchio should have their moment. And I think that Garrett is a primed Pinocchio who needs to have that happen for him.
But the great thing about this opportunity is when this when this franchise launches, and it will be successful, because Garrett is a terrific actor and a fantastic person. I believe in him, I believe in Dan, and I believe in our team. Our movie is going to happen, and you will see TV. You will see a series. It is going to happen, and when it happens, it's going to bring people together in a new kind of way, and it will inspire people just like Star Trek, just like Orville. It'll just have its own little voice, its own signature. But Garrett will be a captain. Garrett will be the leader. Garrett will have Garrett's moments, okay? And it has been a long time coming for him. And in a way, vicariously through Abaddon, we'll see Captain Harry Kim. But it won't be Harry Kim. It'll be Captain Ken Chang, okay? Ken Chang. But good enough for me. Good enough for me. It will satisfy my Trekkie soul to see Garrett have some sort of vehicle for him, because we need diversity. We need that representation in film and cinema right now. And Garrett brings that ethnicity, obviously, that Asian representation. I was just putting together a slide deck for Complex Networks, and we were doing the research, and the research still says that Asian Americans are severely underrepresented. And for me, I go, but I feel like when I watch Netflix and when I watch Amazon, I look around, I see lots of different faces and lots of different colors and shapes and everything, right? How can it be? But we're still talking about the system itself, the studio system and the big players. And that's where the disparity is, still in the big system. So for Garrett, this is a fantastic opportunity, especially with Warner Brothers, because we're going to fight. For me, I'm of the opinion, I'm just one of 5 people who make this decision collectively, but I'm of the opinion that I don't want to sell to Warner Brothers if we don't have Garrett. I don't want to sell to Warner Brothers if we can't have Garrett and Anthony. They're from Emmy Award-winning sci-fi series. They are audience magnets.
And are you saying that Warner Brothers would not want them if they didn't want them?
The studio system still works the way it always has, and that is, you need a big name, you need an A-lister, or you need an A-list director, writer.
But that happened to Garrett before, and the fans went out because Garrett was so popular with the women that they canceling him. So he was supposed to get booted from the show, and everyone loved him so much they were like, hell no. So then Garrett got to stay. So I hope that happens again.
I think that's
Garrett.
We want Garrett to come to Warner Brothers. You know what I mean? It's sort of poaching a little bit in the sense that CBS and Paramount and all that, but he's not contracted with the studios anymore. He's a free agent. He can do whatever he wants, and it'll be ultimately up to him. But where he's on board, he has been, and he's been patiently waiting in the wings the last 4 years since that trailer was shot, just going, what's going on? I've got to get in touch and see. Did you still want in? Because if they say no to us because of him, we're going to do it with him without them. And we already have the studio. We have everything we need to do it independently without a studio. But of course, with the studio would be showing the world that an unrepresented writer still in 2020 with no real following and nobody like me or like Pete could win people over, could win people over to our story, and we could get them a big studio to look at our work and say, hey, that's cool. Let's think about it.
He definitely has a fan base, and his fan base is pretty rabid. Like, women like him for all different sorts of reasons. A lot of them thought he was very physically attractive, that he had a nice body. A lot of women liked his hair. A lot of women liked his personality. Everyone really.
Good boy. He was a paragon of Starfleet. I mean, like Picard, he was like a little Picard Junior in training. Like, I saw him as very much channeling the same kind of. He was like, I could see him saying Picard was my hero in his journal, to his teacher. But
he's almost like that in real life. Like, he's very sweet. I met him at a VIP night in Calgary, and he is very much like that in real life. Like,
are you in Alberta, or where are you?
I'm in Alberta, yeah.
Okay, but you're not in Calgary.
I'm in Calgary-ish.
Yes, okay. But it was okay. That means
So,
it's in the sticks somewhere probably.
Yeah, so I don't like to say where I'm from, but anyway, yeah, I'm in Alberta, and yeah, I met him at a VIP night, and he is an absolute sweetheart of a man, and he took photos with my adult daughter. I'm a lot older than I look. I have a 28-year-old daughter, and he was so sweet and was such a gentleman with my daughter. My daughter's kind of famous here in her own right, so it was so funny to see them cuddling in their photos. They took the most hysterical photos together, and he was just magic. So he's a very sweet person. I'd like to see him get his own show.
They're very sweet. They're like huggy, lovey bears, and they love the fans, and the fans love them because of that. Because they're not just like, not now, not today, not this isn't the time or the place. Everywhere has a time and place for Garrett and Aaron, and that's why it's been hard. It was really hard. It's been hard for us to do Seventh Rule without Aaron, but he is with us. He's always with us. I mean, he and Garrett, and they were like two peas in a pod. But I know what you mean when Garrett is on the floor, when they're on the floor and they work in a room. I mean, it's just amazing because they're so present.
Yeah.
And that is the mark of a truly professional actor's presence. And for Garrett, he has it. So yes, we want Garrett to have an opportunity to be a star.
Yeah, and Garrett is an honorary Canadian. He's also an honorary Albertan. So like I often say to people that I'm shocked. I would be totally shocked if he didn't have a house here, because he's always here. And yeah, he's a fantastic person.
It does help when your significant other is from there and lives there.
Yeah. So, he's just, I don't know, he's just he is a very kind, very down to earth, very pure, very sweet person who is just honest to goodness, good to his bones kind of guy. And he's not far away from his character. He's not as childlike as they made Harry Kim, but he's definitely a doll, isn't he, Kat?
Yes, absolutely. And I will say that he has the spirit of the child still living and breathing within him, but he's not childish in an amateurish way. So I would say just that life of spirit, just being very engaged with people and wanting to and caring about what he hears and responding in an authentic way. That's really important. So for me, working with him or having opportunity to work with him has been great. And our last interaction in Vegas, we had just as great of a time. And then he'd go around the whole thing with you. Like he'll just go hang out he'll pick a fan or a group of fans and he'll just come sit and hang out with them. And then he'll go to he's a little butterfly. And I love that.
Yeah. There aren't very many men I want to hug. And I think it's hard to describe his personality, but he's just so genuine, non-creepy, so cool. The guy you want to hang out with that I would, you definitely want to hug Garrett because Garrett's just all the way the coolest guy.
Yeah, we had a question that came up a while back. We were joking in the Seventh Rule family, and we were talking about who gives the best hugs in the Star Trek all the Star Trek actors. And I was like, of all the ones I've actually had an opportunity to get a hug from, I still say it's Sirach. I still say Doug Jones, Doug Jones, our Saru, our Billy the Butcher, our Pan's Labyrinth, our Doug, the Dougie Huggy, or everyone says the Dougie Huggy or the Doug's, but he calls them Huggles. I'm like, you guys are saying it all wrong. It's the Dougie Huggle, and he's known for his hugs, right? But it's like. There's something about because Sirach is tall too, but like
yes,
there's something at Avery
a down hug
about Sirach still because Avery imparted so much into Sirach that he sort of has some of that spirit of Avery, and it's that cool, very warm, composed. Yes. Like, when you're around him, everything's going to be okay. And Sirach inherited that from Avery, so me or maybe always had it, and that's what brought them together in the first place. Who knows? Yeah. But
I have a question.
Wholesome's not the right word, but it's close, right, Kat?
Close.
Yeah.
So if you want a review about Ug's review, you can go on Kat King channel. And if you want to have a review about Uggs, you have a review about Uggs. So if you want to know if that person is doing a good Ugg, you have all the information about it.
Cool.
In Australia, don't you call it a cuddle? Don't you say, "Oh, can I have a cuddle?"
Yeah, can I have a cuddle? Yeah, cuddles.
Just a little cuddle. I'll have a little cuddle.
Or a wee cuddle. No, that's more Anglo. On the English side or the Scot side. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, we cuddle. I cuddled up. We cuddle. Marina. Marina's a fantastic person to hang out with at the convention. I mean, I felt bad because I was standing around and I was chatting with somebody else, another fan friend. And I was chatting, and before I knew it, I realized I was actually standing in the queue. I was in the way, but no one was in the queue at the time, so I wasn't really in anyone's way. But I realized I'm standing in the queue and I'm talking and chatting, and other people, I'm in the way. I should probably buy an autograph or something. And then I turned to look and see what she was offering, and they were offering selfies. And so that's the new thing, is you pay $20 and you can have selfies. And so Gates and Marina and we were just pictures and no autographs and just having little fun moments, and it was they're just terrific. And Marina is very active on Twitter. We interact a lot on there. I mean, if you go to my
person, also another person who is great to meet, because Marina makes all of her fans feel like they're the stars, not her. They're like, you're the star, She
always wants to know what you're doing. And Aaron and Garrett and Marina, they're all this way. They want to know about the fans, because they know that fans are creative, and a lot of fans are up to stuff too. So they'll turn around and find that thing and then make you the star of it. I think it's so terrific.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, let's go, Orval Nation.
Let me just ask you a quick question before we wrap up. With regards to negotiations or the decision making with regards to Warner Brothers, how do you feel that this whole Corona pandemic thing is affecting? Is it helping? Is it not helping? How does it affect you guys? What's going on?
It is keeping us. What this has done is reminded us that we are actually had already been on the right track to begin with. And if we hadn't actually gotten sort of sidetracked with Warner Brothers, we could have already made the movie. So there are a few things that I have to think about, but everything happens for a reason. And I believe that everything happens when it's as it's meant to, in its own good time. So in retrospect, if I look back at everything that's happened since they started trying to get this made 4 years ago, when I stepped into it, I saw there are no wrong ways. It's about what is your message? What are you really trying to accomplish? And who are the partners who are going to align with your message? If the studio aligns with your message and believes in the message, then it's a good fit, and we should pursue the major studio deal. If they are not aligned with our message, if they choose to challenge a lot of the integral elements of the story, then we're forced to accept that the studio system has not changed. It will forever continue to try to over-commercialize itself and jump its own shark at every opportunity, and it will continue to cannibalize itself. So we're actually on a better track, continuing to produce independently and distribute independently and do all of these things independently of any major studio or any union or any contract, knowing that we are a collective of integral people who are altruistic, who have integrity, who will do the right thing, who will drive the engine forward to completion. And we have all of those elements are in play because we have people who are purpose-driven, mission-oriented, completionists, finishers, and solutionists. So the answer is I don't know yet. It remains to be seen how it will play out for us. But either way, we will make Abaddon, and you will be able to see it. And my greatest hope is that you will fall in love with it and keep wanting more of it, and we'll keep putting the stories out there. I
think we will fall in love with it, Kat. I think we will.
Yeah.
But are you able to produce even if you have COVID-19? You are producing disregarding COVID-19.
We will produce it. What we're going to do, so the plan is that, let's just say, if hypothetically, Warner Brothers is just, they're too bogged up. Because look, we were talking to the guys who do all of the CW shows, The Flash, all of the shows on the CW, all 18 of them that Greg Berlanti wrote and produced. Greg Berlanti and Matt Reeves are doing the Batman movie. That production, you've probably seen it in the news, is halted, right? Everything's halted. So we were next in line. Essentially what was happening is the week before the shutdown, we were at Warner Brothers working this deal, and they said everything is going to be on hold. So that would mean that our production will wait 2 more years at least.
Wow.
Because once the lockdown is lifted, everything that was already in production is going to resume production, and they're all going to be automatically behind by how many ever months or weeks or years or whatever it is. We don't know how long it's going to go on. So in other words, they're either going to cancel those productions, scrap it all, file for bankruptcy, and we're all going to lose all the studio assistants, or they're just going to resume where they were at, and we're going to be put on the back burner another 2 years. And if that happens, we're going to produce it independently. And how are we going to do that under these bans? We're going to have to shoot our 2 scenes. We're going to have to make sure that everyone's tested. We're going to contract trace our production team. I mean, we're going to take care of our production. We're going to make sure that we're not filming scenes with, 5, 10 people in them. We'll shoot as much of the film as we possibly can in 2 shots, and all of the visual effects and special effects and all of the insert shots and anything that doesn't even have people in it can all still be shot and filmed and created without access to a studio or even human beings to do it. So I would say 80% of the movie can get completed and shot even during the pandemic if we're smart and we put the right kind of mindful, conscious, plan together to execute it. And I believe in our team. I believe we'll take care of each other.
And Kat, what are the possibilities of what are the possibilities of you guys shooting the film indie and then with this finished product going back to Warner Brothers about a series or something?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. I think that the plan for, like, Pete and I have been talking about it, and we said we're gonna shoot it and then we're gonna shop it we're gonna shop it back to them. If that's that's really the plan. The plan is to just make the movie and then take it back to them and see what happens. And if they don't pick it up, then we'll keep shopping it to distributors. I was really hoping to just put it out on Amazon, put it out on Hulu, like just direct to the audiences and monetize it that way, and not even deal with a studio. But the temptation is always going to be there to try to sell it to a global audience because we want the message out there. We want to grow into a franchise. And we don't have the resources right now as a standalone entertainment company, the funding to do that. So the little guys still do rely on those big dogs for those big breaks. But we'll see how it goes. So
I hope that they do that because, all throughout communications and social media, you're seeing this massive backlash against this very regurgitative process. So I think that fans, even if they're intergenerational, I think that they're getting really sick and tired of reboots and remakes and redos. And, like I said, it's very regurgitative. So to have new content, I think would be vital to these streaming services. So, it's my hope that they realize that this is a pathway to some quality original content, and we're desperate for it. Science fiction fans are desperate. If everybody out there in YouTube land is listening, we are desperate. That is the consensus amongst all science fiction fans. We want new content like Project Abaddon. We want that.
You could recruit Jerry Ryan because everything with Jerry Ryan's working really well. Everything with Jerry Ryan is really popular.
Yeah, it would be great to have her on the series, actually, because she would be great. We considered her for a role for the Aztec series. So I want to be able to say here and now and predict that a year from now we will have a full, and it'll happen because I know it'll happen. But the reality is that Pete lives in Washington State. A lot of our crew are divided up and across different states right now. So it'll just be a matter of being strategic in our planning and maybe shifting and learning to pivot. So the pandemic has only really served to challenge us to rise above the challenge, to rise to the occasion and to seek solutions and to continue to persist in spite of it, which is how a lot of great things come about, right?
If you hire Jerry Ryan, I'm ready to pay for being in the movie. Like,
I would pay to be in a movie material.
I would be a lunchbox time, right?
Wouldn't that be great?
A lunchbox for
Kat,
Alien. I don't know.
let me say, Kat, that any way that we can support you, we are here to support, and we definitely want you back to update us on Project Abaddon, to delve further into the new projects that Kat King is doing, and just in general, just keep in touch with us. Any way we can support, just let us know. Keep in touch with me and Raquel and our whole gang.
We're a channel for you, Kat. We're a total channel for you. Like we're access, an access channel to your fandom. So yeah, let's have you back and keep us up to date on all of your projects, because everyone is highly interested in this, and your projects are terrific.
Will do, and I'm just very excited to be here. Thank you so much for seeing me, because Garrett and I, we're kindred spirits, and we feel like we've been in this a long time, and when is it going to be our turn? So we finally getting to that place where it gets to be our turn, and I'm very excited. So thank you.
And if you guys go the campaign route at any point, let us know that we like Raquel said, that we are we are a channel for you guys. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only reason why we haven't gone down the crowdfunding route, just because there's a lot of people out there who've been making a lot of fan films, and there's just been a lot of controversy about those things, and I feel like there's a lot of heat surrounding fan film production. So I think that anything that is fan driven can be a little bit, you just have to be careful, and you have to be really strategic about who you work with. And so for me, I wanted to be able to go fundraise, but I'm a person who wants to be very transparent. So it means I need to hire a really good accountant and bookkeeper to keep track of all that fun stuff, and somebody I really trust to be able to make sure that fans know who are interested in contributing to crowdfunded film campaigns, indie film campaigns, even if they're not fan films, but original indie films like Abaddon is original. So even that, they don't know us. And I want to make sure that there's transparency, and that there's it's all out there for everyone to see, so that there's no question about where money goes and who's paid.
Do you label yourself as a fan film? Because I'm not sure you fit that role.
I don't, because we're original. We're not, we're not a parody or anything like that, an established canon or an established franchise. I just think that I misspoke. I really should just say indie films that are crowd raised and crowdfunded have a tendency to fail, but they fail because they lose a lot of the trust of their donors and contributors. Lack of transparency about where money goes, especially when the product doesn't turn out as it was expected to. People want to understand how that happened, and our equity for us. I don't want the initial. I don't think we feel that the initial property needs to be this thing that we let the fans control. It's a property, an intellectual property, and a piece of that needs to be maintained, and we need to keep it as much equity of it and creative control of it as we possibly can.
I agree. Yeah.
The more you democratize, unfortunately, you open yourself up to everyone has an opinion, and just like everything in pop culture, it does. Star Wars gets its fair share of the same kind of thing, and Star Trek, Stargate, they all got the same kind of stuff in the fans. And every time somebody would go and fundraise, now, like you're saying, it's original, but it's still an indie production, and we have a lot of indie non-SAG people, so there's not a lot of recourse. If somebody on our team does something legally, illegally, somebody shows themselves to be less than trustworthy after all the work that's happening to people all the time. We don't want to put ourselves in a situation with legal battles with a third-party crowdfunding organization to have to go through all that legal stuff. So it was always easier for me to just be like, look, we already have the money, the fans can just enjoy it now, you know what I mean? But that's why it's taking so long to put the money together, because we haven't gone to the public to ask for money. And also because we're not known, I didn't think that we would have the opportunity to really get enough attention, because I tried to crowdfund and fundraise for original work before and was unsuccessful. Yeah. Because I couldn't even get friends and family to share or to link or to contribute. It was a priority for anyone to be contributing to my little Indiegogo campaign. So I just gave up on crowdfunding and decided I would just go back to the old school drawing board of trying to wheel and deal and connect with investors and angels and people like that. And I've actually been fairly successful doing that. And now I've connected to over 1,000 people in the industry who could put me on work, but now everything's shut down. So
you know,
so how do
maybe
you feel about like pitching it to Netflix? I mean, all over, like in Canada, Netflix is really big in British Columbia. They have production there, and Netflix is hugely important to the BC economy, and lots of films are being filmed there. So has your team considered pitching it to Netflix or pitching it as an Amazon original or Netflix original? I mean, 5 years ago even, we didn't have this proliferation of this original content on these streams. Has your team considered that? Have you thought about pitching there?
Absolutely. One of the biggest things for us is Netflix, because we know that Netflix is unconventional in its approach to storytelling, and in terms of its original productions too. And we know that we could compete really great with CBS with it. It would become a real good competitor, but Netflix has already monopolized the streaming market and is making more money than anyone else right now. So absolutely, we want to pitch to Netflix. That's on the list. So that'll be next, actually. We started with Warner, and now then it was Sony. Someone from Sony Pictures liked us. So it's Warner Brothers, Sony, and then Netflix is the third one on the list. And then after that, it's Hulu. And then after that, it's AMC. But we really, I want someone to just take it. Just take it somewhere.
Yeah, that would be ideal, you know.
Because a lot of people got bad experiences with crowdfunding. I mean, there was like a fan series about the Joker that was really popular some years ago on YouTube. You know, people crowd and they paid, and we never saw the end of that. And people was... another, and even like if you see it with the main movie is so the movie where they are Nazis on the moon, like but the crowd found that the movie have been finished, but they have been forced to postpone every year. I was going to the store to buy the DVD each time. It's postponed for 6 months, 8 months. I mean, and even did a special crowdfunding for better special effects for the death of Margaret Thatcher in their movie. Obviously, they got a lot of money because this is popular, the death of Margaret Thatcher. But I mean, it has been really, it was really tough. So I don't know. I think really the crowdfunding for big money for movies, fan movies, more have been.
I mean, it's like crowdfunding. People don't realize it's so expensive. Sci-fi is the most expensive genre to produce because of if you're really doing practical stuff, if you want to go old school and you want to keep it real, like OG boss, practical effects and and build all that, you have to build it all. Remember that this is this Abaddon is a whole new world unto itself. It's 300 years in the future too, as well, just like Star Trek was. But it's its own culture, its own world to build. And so we have Dan and we have Mike and we've got all these fantastic designers and supervisors and from Star Trek. So we know we have like people that people trust because they've seen them win Emmys for their work. You know what I mean? We have credibility attached to the project, and that's not my concern. My concern is what Alexandre was saying, which is that it's a bit of the collateral damage that comes with people who the average lay person does not understand the industry and does not understand certain things about it. So when something goes wrong on a production, it's not an easy fix. It's not something that can just be fixed overnight. It has to be planned so meticulously to begin with. And even then, things can happen and go wrong on production, and you'll end up spending more money, and then you have to ask the fans for more money. And a lot of that has to do with mismanagement, because you'll get a lot of creative people who get together in a room and want to make something cool, but nobody knows actually the business side of it, or how to, like, the legal elements or the aspects and the business side of production. Everyone wants just to get together and make a movie, and it's that simple, but it's also after the post-production process is finished, then what happens after that too. You have to think pre and post, and then in production, every element, it's a big picture. A lot of people rush right in, and they don't.
When you're doing fan stuff, anyway, you don't own the copyright on your own characters. You can't live about it. You need to deal with all the canon stuff, because you always have someone that will take books from 1977 to say that you did only shit. I mean, yeah,
and you're gonna see, and even if you in the trailer, if you caught it at the very beginning of the trailer, the incoming transmission from Deshira, the sound, the chirp is a Star Trek. If you're a Star Trek fan, you know that sound comes from Star Trek, because the person who designed the sound bite for it retained the creative rights to use it, so he can use it anytime he wants for any project he wants. But people might listen to that and go, "Oh, he ripped off Star Trek. Surprise! He's the guy who made it." Okay, so he gets to keep using it for whatever he does, even if it's not for Star Trek. No one can sue him because it's his work. That's Dan. So Dan Curry retains a lot of these guys retained a lot of their creative control over a lot of their work. Even when they were working for Paramount back then, they were still able to hold on to some of that stuff. So that's the concern that I have, is when you're at sci-fi and you're working with a lot of people from established canons and franchises, people will think this is a fan film. People are going to think it's a fan film because it's got Garrett, it's got Anthony, and they're at least we keep hearing it's got Star Trek people in it. Okay, yes. Because that's their frame of reference for popular culture for these guys.
Yeah, so let me add.
Establish it as this original, groundbreaking, new, fresh, exciting thing.
Let me add, Kat, just before we wrap up, that that you guys have enough credibility to not have a third-party crowdfunder involved. You guys could just raise on your own, from your own website.
That's what we've been doing, and we've been. The problem is that we didn't want to. Because of what happened with the trailer, the production of the trailer, I like I said, when I speak on that, it's hearsay. The best person to ask about the reasoning behind why we haven't done that would be the man who created the series. And if we can get Pete on, he'll be happy to explain it. But I don't want to speak for him; it wouldn't be my place. But Axanar Rex is a good example of a problems that arise when you either surround yourself with the wrong people, or people who are not equipped with the right skills, or people who are perhaps a little bit on the nefarious side and they're self-serving and they're not really looking to help support you, but looking for an opportunity to build their own career. That does happen. And I don't want to speak or knock on anyone on the Axanar. There are some amazing people who were part of the Axanar project back when it first started, especially. And I don't know anything really about it since then. All I know is that there was extraordinary fallout. Yeah. That lawsuit has done.
We're not alleging anything or implying anything on this show with regards to an accident.
I could never speak on Axanar. I couldn't speak on any of that stuff. All I can say is that just as a bystander, just observing the friendships that broke down. I know a lot of people involved in those things, so I could never speak ill. I won't speak on it publicly about it either way, because I know a lot of people who are involved on both sides of that issue personally. So I've been trying to stay out of it all these years, and I've been doing a really good job, so I'm going to stay real out of it. But just to say that in terms of just fundraising and crowdfunding, it can just get really, really difficult and tricky. And
messy.
Yeah, messy. And I just want to make sure if we decide to go ahead with a fundraise and we do it that way, that we do it the right way and we hire the right people to monitor it and maintain its transparency. Because I just want to promote it and go make the thing and let somebody else do that part of the job. I've been producing and raising money now for 15 years for movies and TV and produce. I'm tired of being the one begging for money. I want to just go make the thing now. And now it's finally going to be my turn. So I want to hire the right person to do it. So it's just taking time, and you want to pay that person. You want to make sure that everyone is paid for the work that they do, no matter if it's indie or not, because indie gets a bad rap. Indie gets a bad rap when people don't get paid. It's really messy. So we're going to do it all right, and we're going to do it with integrity and through an altruistic spirit of goodwill.
And I would just like to put Troy's comment back up, because Axanar is a close friend of Orville Nation, and they're also a personal friend of mine. So I would just like to say that, they're not here to speak for themselves or to their issues or what happened with them. So we love them. And, because they're not in the room, let's just leave it at that. And we love Axanar. They're great people, and anytime they want to come on and talk about any kind of issues, our door is open, but you still have our 100% support, and that's that. When you want to come on and talk about it, you come on and talk about it. Until then,
to each their own. You know, we just have to walk our own walk and live our truth and focus on. We have to focus on. It's just been such a. There's so much nastiness in the world already, you know, and we see that all the time. I'm speaking from personal experience from the military, even from the military, and I just say that there's just. We have to be the difference. We have to be the change. We have to be bigger than that and better than that. And I think that it's really just been very encouraging to hear people say, you know, we're just going to keep moving forward and love sci-fi and love what we do and just keep it there.
I just want to acknowledge your friend Eric from Eric Moran, who's here saying hello. And listen, Kat, it's been an honor. I want to just stress that, as Raquel said, that we are here for you for anything. And I just, come back soon. And thanks so much for sharing so much of the project and yourself. And you've been very transparent and authentic.
Yes.
And that was it was a treat for us. Thank you so much, Kat.
It was such a pleasure meeting you. You were so candid and provided so much insight into the industry. And I know that was refreshing for the chat. And it was refreshing for this show because, you know, your candor, your openness and your honesty are just, the fans eat this up because they want to better understand the industry. And I just look at your resume and I just have so much respect for you, Kat King. Thank you for the work that you've been doing. Thank you for coming here today to engage with your fans. And, you know, door is always open. Come on back and share your extraordinary projects with us. And when you see Garrett, just lay a big fat smooch on his cheek from my daughter.
Megan might
for me.
But I will definitely blow him a kiss if I can. Before we go, I want to just say I'm so grateful that the entire Star Trek cruise escaped the whole thing, because I don't know if you guys heard about all those cruise ships that got up there.
Yes,
they were so
barely.
Hallelujah, praise Jesus that they were all healthy and safe, and there were a few cases I think on the ship, but no one passed and no one got deathly ill. So, thank you. That's a blessing. And it's a blessing. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Raquel, Katie, Drew, and Alexander. Thank you all for joining us on the panel. And thank you, Peggy, Rex, LDG, Eric, Mando, Nanette, Troy. Troy, we will see you Friday at the Doctor Who Clash of the Titans, and Peggy as well. The symbol guy. You don't have a name. Captain Robert and Stephanie and everybody. Pflugerville. Thank you guys all for joining us. You guys have a great night. Be safe. Thank you, Kat. Come again soon. Thank you guys.
Love you, Orville Nation. Love you
guys.
Bye,